Chapter 354. If not for the fact that Zhu Tian doesn't like women, Zhu Tian would definitely be an expert at picking up girls. Appearing at the most helpless time of a girl, his timing was very accurate. Furthermore, hugging and comforting the other party like this, the other party was even more touched. Just like Dongfang Yuan, other than the senior sister that day, Dongfang Yuan, was the second person that spoke up for me. No one else dared to offend the Bai family. You are my girlfriend's teacher. Bai Qi said confusedly. Zhu Tian lightly caressed Dongfang Yuan's beautiful hair, but in his heart, he wanted to directly kill her. Women. I hate women. However, for the sake of his honor's mission, Zhu Tian endured the impulse in his heart. Not only am I her teacher, I am also her man. This time, Bai Qi was startled. Even Dongfang Yuan was startled. I know that Professor Zhu is helping me, but he is someone from Bai family. Professor Zhu, don't say any more. What Dongfang Yuan meant was for Zhu Tian to not help her anymore, otherwise, he would bring trouble upon himself. However, in Bai Qi's ears, it didn't sound like this at all. This Dongfang Yuan doesn't want me to say anymore. So she already has a man, no wonder she doesn't want me to touch her. She is definitely afraid that I would find out that it wasn't her first time. I, the dignified young master of Bai family, was actually cuckolded. This is a humiliation. Today, I am going to kill the two of you. Bai Qi relied on his big sister's power and did quite a lot of bad things. Adding on that no one dared to provoke him, this increased his arrogance even more. Especially during this period of time, his big sister is simply going to become the family head. As for me, I am also a young master of an aristocratic family. I don't put anyone in my eyes, let alone a person from a small family. Of course, Bai Qi still had some foundation, but he was only slightly stronger than ordinary people. Zhu Tian raised his hand and directly slapped Bai Qi onto the wall. Bai Qi held onto his cheek and looked at Zhu Tian in disbelief. You dare to slap me? Do you know who my big sister is? Do you know who I am? I only need to move a finger and you too will die. Bai Qi's handsome face was especially terrifying. His family's power had grown so much that he had almost forgotten his surname. Dongfang Yuan left Zhu Tian's embrace and bowed to Zhu Tian. Professor Zhu, thank you for helping me, but please don't bother about this anymore, otherwise, you will be in danger. What a good girl. She would rather put herself in danger than drag others down. However, Zhu Tian did not feel anything at all. In his mind, there was only his honor's command and the completion of his honor's command. Get out. Absolute Heaven said gravely. Bai Qi was startled. He didn't see anything unusual. Let's go, but don't let me see you. Otherwise, I will beat you to death. After saying that, Bai Qi walked out. Just as Absolute Heaven had thought, the white flag would only be useful if it was turned into a corpse. As for Dongfang Yuan, this woman was still very useful. Are you all right? Absolute Heaven asked, concerned. Dongfang Yuan shook her head. Professor Zhu, it's better for you to quickly leave, otherwise, woo. Dongfang Yuan's beautiful eyes widened as she stared in disbelief at this overbearing and cold man in front of her. He actually forcefully kissed her. Shouldn't I push him away? Why did his hand seem to have no strength? Zhu Tian almost vomited, but he endured it and kissed her. Dongfang Yuan was related to the destruction of the Dongfang family, and Guan Yanxin had a lot of news about the aristocratic families. These two girls must be won over. If it really doesn't work, then I'll learn from Lai Gu and directly do it. Although it was a bit disgusting, I will just treat it as being bitten by a little puppy. One must know that Zhu Tian's original form was a cat, and he was very misophobic, to the point that he didn't even want to touch women. After separating his lips, Zhu Tian looked at Dongfang Yuan and said, don't worry, in the future, no one will bully you, other than me. Professor Ju, we can't do this, thank you for your good intentions. Dongfang Yuan's face was completely red. What Ju Tian brought her was a strong sense of security, and in this kind of dangerous situation, her heart felt warm. However, Ju Tian wouldn't let Dongfang Yuan go. He pulled her back and pressed her against the wall. Dongfang Yuan didn't dare to look straight at Ju Tian's gaze and lowered her head. Do you still want to let him bully you? Ju Tian asked coldly. This is my life. Dongfang Yuan said in a low voice. Ju Tian lifted up Dongfang Yuan's chin and said faintly, right now, you have the chance to change your life. Professor Ju, I don't want you to be implicated. It must be said that Dongfang Yuan had a good impression of Ju Tian, otherwise, she wouldn't have let Ju Tian snatch away her first kiss. Of course, this was also Absolute Heaven's first kiss. However, it made Absolute Heaven feel nauseous. I like you. When Absolute Heaven said such words, he wished that he could give himself a slap. This was 2F** King disgusting. However, for the sake of his honor's command, they had no choice but to endure it. After all, after the mission was completed, they would no longer be needed anymore. Dongfang Yuan was stupefied. She looked at Ju Tian, who was in front of her in a daze. Song Xiaoxiao was right. He was really handsome and gave her a sense of security. If she wasn't herself, she would definitely be his girlfriend. Professor Ju, please behave yourself. After saying that, Dongfang Yuan trotted out with tears in her eyes. Ju Tian was stupefied. There was actually a woman who could escape the might of his looks. Chapter 355. Jiang Yuanzhou stood up, stroked his collar, and slowly walked onto the stage with a dignified air. Just the way he walked up to the stage won him the applause of the patriarchs. All right, it was just flattery. Jiang Yuanzhou waved his hand, signaling everyone to be quiet. He then patted his son's shoulder. The latter immediately shrank back as if he was about to be beaten. Jiang Yuanzhou saw his son's performance and glared fiercely at him. Don't make a fool of yourself in front of so many people. However, Jiang Jianhua was even more afraid. Maybe it was because he was beaten by his father when he was young. Now, when his father stared at him, he immediately became terrified. Straighten your back. Jiang Yuanzhou slapped his son's waist. He was so shocked that he immediately stood up straight, as if he was about to receive some sort of commendation. His chin was lifted slightly. If Jiang Jianhua had a little more confidence, he would also be a talent. Unfortunately, he had been traumatized by his father when he was young and had no confidence at all. It's my son's fortune to have such a good wife like Yan Xan. It's also a joyous occasion for the Jiang family. Of course, Guantong had to be polite as well. The fat on his face began to tremble. Brother Jiang is too polite. It is Yan Xian's fortune to be able to marry into the Jiang clan. Besides, Jianhua is a talented man with an imposing appearance. He is rare in this world. The compliments from the heads of the two aristocratic families really gave people goosebumps. Guan Yanxin, who was like a block of wood, looked as if she had lost her soul. Actually, everyone knew that this was because they had no choice but to join together for the sake of benefits. Say something. Jiang Yuanzhou said to his son in a low voice. After all, today was considered a public relationship, followed by an engagement, and then a marriage. As a man, of course, he had to express a few words. Jiang Jianhua looked at the large group of people in front of him and revealed a timid expression, unable to spit out a single word. No one knew who took the lead to applaud, but everyone began to encourage Jiang Jianhua, as if they were kindergartners who needed encouragement from adults before they would speak. This caused Jiang Yuanzhou's expression to turn ugly. However, this move was indeed useful. I like her very much, Jiang Jianhua said while stuttering, expressing his feelings very well. Although it was difficult, he still said it. Jiang Yuanzhou was relieved. Guan Tong also felt relieved. It was a good thing for his daughter to marry him. After all, with his daughter's intelligence, at least she wouldn't be bullied. The audience applauded again. Yinxin, come and say something, Guan Tong said to her daughter. Guan Yinxin came back to her senses and asked curiously, what are you guys talking about? The corner of Guan Tong's mouth twitched. Jiang Yuanzhou's face immediately darkened. On the other hand, Jiang Jianhua was sullen. His goddess didn't hear him at all. Guan Tong smiled and reminded him in a low voice, just say that you like Jiang Jianhua. Guan Yinxin did not like him at all. She hated this kind of cowardly man the most. He had no manliness at all and was even weaker than her. But what could he do? Speak. Guan Tong shouted in a low voice, but he still had a weak smile on his face. After the marriage between Guan and Jiang, there would be a new situation. Guan Yinxin also knew that she had no choice but to speak up. Taking a step forward, she raised her arrogant chin, only to see Zhu Tian walking back. He didn't leave. He was back. Guan Yinxin's obedient heart started to rebel again. She would rather die than marry such a man. If you want to hold hands, you can't use me in exchange. Seeing her daughter suddenly smile, Guan Tong had a bad feeling. Jiang Yuanzhou and Jiang Jianhua thought it was Guan Yinxin who smiled happily and felt very comfortable. I like him. Guan Yinxin said it very straightforwardly and boldly. Everyone couldn't help but admire this kind of woman. As a daughter of an aristocratic family, she dared to do this. Guan Tong knew it would be like this. Guan Yinxin's brother stood at the side and looked at Zhu Tian who was walking over. The smile of the father and son of the Jiang family froze on their faces. That's right, Guan Yinxin pointed at Zhu Tian and shouted this sentence. She was a very courageous young lady. Zhu Tian also liked this result. Because of him, the relationship between the Guan and Jiang family had fallen to a freezing point. Now, it needed to be added to the ice. Zhu Tian rubbed his eyes and put his left hand in his pocket. He stretched out his right hand and hooked his finger at Guan Yinxin. Everyone's heart sank. You don't put the two families in your eyes at all. You actually hooked your finger at the daughter of an aristocratic family. Besides, she was the daughter of an aristocratic family. Your action of beckoning her with your finger showed deep contempt, as if you were looking for a mistress. Although she said that she liked you, she would not come over. After all, the daughter of an aristocratic family had pride. However, everyone was disappointed. Guan Yinxin was like a canary that was released from its cage. With a happy smile, she ran towards Zhu Tian. In Guan Yinxin's eyes, Zhu Tian's hooking finger action was too domineering. She loved to conquer this kind of man, cold and domineering. Everyone watched as Guan Yinxin threw herself into the man's embrace. And that man actually directly kissed Guan Yinxin's cherry lips. The important thing was that his hands were actually pressing on her butt and grabbing it. Grabbing someone's butt in front of so many people. Those deep marks were already visible. Domineering. This was completely the rhythm of not wanting to see tomorrow's sun. Dongfang Yu, who was in the crowd, saw Zhu Tian kissing Guan Yinxin and slowly turned her head. At this moment, Guan Yinxin was completely intoxicated. She had completely forgotten where she was. Her first kiss was actually given in this kind of situation. Her little butt was already hurting from being grabbed by her teacher. How exciting! After a long kiss, Guan Yinxin nestled in Zhu Tian's embrace with a tender and beautiful blush. That look was as if she wouldn't marry anyone else. As for Zhu Tian, he almost vomited again. Later on, he really had to buy some anti-vomiting medicine. It would still be useful in the future. Father, look at her. She was kissed by another man. I don't like it anymore. Jiang Jianhua was rather straightforward. Seeing his goddess being kissed, he was very jealous and didn't want her anymore. Jiang Yuanzhou looked towards Guan Tong with a sunken face. Guan Tong, you have to give me a good explanation for this matter. After speaking, he prepared to leave with his son. Guan Tong hurriedly shouted, Brother Jiang, my daughter was muddled for a moment. Father, I am not muddled. Guan Yanxin said with a tender smile. She very domineeringly kissed Zhu Tian's lips. She felt that Zhu Tian's lips had a good texture and even carried a fragrance. You! Guan Tong's mouth was almost crooked from anger. Seeing this, Jiang Yuanzhou coldly snorted, Guan Tong, this is the good daughter you taught. Making fun of my Jiang family. Brother Jiang, what do you mean by that? I, Guan Tong, did not do it on purpose. In actuality, Guan Tong was already lowering his status and begging Jiang Yuanzhou. However, in the end, Guan Tong was still a family head of an aristocratic family. In front of everyone, Zhu Tian was kissing Guan Yanxin, who was in his embrace with all his might, and his hands were even roaming around Guan Yanxin's lower abdomen. So painful to the eyes. If there is really no one around, are the two of you going to fight for real? Look at her. Did I say anything wrong? Jiang Yuanzhou pointed at Guan Yanxin, who was kissing passionately, and shouted out. In actuality, Guan Tong was very angry as well. My daughter is actually hugging and kissing a man in front of so many people, my face is about to be completely thrown away. Just as the two family heads were arguing with each other, a commotion suddenly came out from the crowd. You are a profligate son. This was Tang Wushuang's voice. I am not a profligate son. You are talking nonsense. Bai Qi had a wrong look on his face, as if he had received a huge blow. Right after he finished speaking, he immediately ran towards the balcony and leaped into the balcony under the gaze of everyone. The entire place was deathly silent. Until a muffled sound rang out. Bai Qi. Chapter 356. Everything happened too quickly. It was so fast that no one expected someone to jump off the building. The person who jumped off the building was the young master of the Bai family, Bai Qi. Guan Yanxin was still unaware of what was going on. Her beautiful eyes were currently closed as she enjoyed Zhu Tian's kiss. Meanwhile, the corner of Zhu Tian's mouth was curled into a strange smile. During the Guan family's banquet, the Bai family's young master committed suicide by jumping off a building. The reason was that he was insulted by Tang family's Tang Wushuang. Originally, the two families were in the limelight, competitors of aristocratic families. Now that Bai Qi had been humiliated by Tang Wushuang to the point of committing suicide by jumping off a building, as the elder sister, it was impossible for Bai Cixin to let the Tang family off just like that. Right now, Tang Wushuang was also very stupefied. Just now, he had accidentally bumped into this little brat's head, and this fellow, relying on his status, actually dared to speak rudely to him. Originally, Tang Wushuang didn't want to fuss about it, but who knew that he would scold him a little more. Damn it, he actually jumped off the building. Is your heart made of tofu? With such a thing happening, the two clan heads naturally couldn't leave. They had to uphold justice. Bai Qi's corpse was quickly carried up. Although it was covered by a white cloth, the blood had already dyed the white cloth red. Jumping from such a high place, his death must have been very miserable. In the end, he was just a hedonistic son of a rich family. He didn't even know how to fly. Bai Cixin stared at her younger brother's corpse. It was only then that she did not realize that humans and ghosts were completely different. After his parents passed away, they told him to take good care of his younger brother. He didn't expect that he would break his promise. Bai Cixin didn't cry, but her pair of beautiful eyes were red and ice-cold as she stared fixedly at Tang Wuxuang. Looking at his brother-in-law committing suicide, Wang Debao was worried for his wife. Zhu Tian hugged Guan Yinxin and stood at the side, watching. Guan Yinxin asked, Zhu Tian, why don't you think this child can understand? Youngsters are all impulsive. They can't stand being humiliated, so they act recklessly. Absolute Heaven said calmly. His words caused everyone to nod their heads. However, Bai Cixin did not agree. She stretched out her slender hand, and the 9 demons punishing tower appeared in her hand. It emitted a ghostly mist, and the temperature of the scene dropped instantly. 9 demons punishing tower. That's the legendary 9 demons punishing tower. Heavens, this 9 demons punishing pagoda is really amazing. Guan Tong shouted in a deep voice, Bai Cixin. What are you doing? Patriarch Guan. What do you think I'm going to do? I want to avenge my brother. Bai Cixin shouted coldly. Jiang Yuanzhou said indifferently, by family head, this is your younger brother's suicide, and no one harmed him. Tang Wuxuang was just too extreme with his words. Furthermore, your 2 families are currently in the midst of the election, and Voidless Realm forbids your 2 families from fighting each other. If not, you will lose the right to participate in the election. Jiang Yuanzhou reminded Bai Cixin that if she fought now, she might lose the chance to run for the position of an aristocratic family. Tang Wuxuang didn't have any intention of apologizing at all. In fact, he even wanted to infuriate Bai Cixin into making a move on him. This way, he would be able to sit on the position of the aristocratic family head. By family head, your younger brother's mental quality is extremely poor. Tang had only helped you to discipline him for a while, and now, he's unable to think straight. My condolences. Tang Wuxuang's words almost caused Bai Cixin to go berserk. Fortunately, Wang Debao stopped her and reminded her in a deep voice, honey. Calm down, if you make a move now, Bai Qi will have died for nothing. Bai Cixin stared fixedly at Tang Wuxuang. Bai Cixin was also well aware of the consequences of him making a move on Tang Wuxuang. Of course, he had to take revenge for Tang Wuxuang, but not here. Don't tell me that Tang Wuxuang isn't responsible for my younger brother's death. Bai Cixin questioned. Guan Tong and Jiang Yuanzhou glanced at each other. Actually, the death of a person wasn't a big deal, but the death was indeed from an aristocratic family, which was more troublesome. Although Tang Wuxuang didn't do anything, he still insulted Bai Qi, and this caused Bai Qi to commit suicide by jumping off the building. If one were to say that Tang Wuxuang wasn't at fault, it wouldn't make sense. Guan Tong said in a deep voice, Bai Cixin, I deeply sympathize with what happened to you, but the dead can't come back to life. My condolences. The meaning of these words was a little biased. Bai Ci had completely tricked him. This was bullying. Wang Debao was unconvinced and said angrily, this Tang Wuxuang clearly knows that the 2 families are in the midst of the election, and yet, he still insulted the 2 families, causing my brother-in-law's younger brother to commit suicide by jumping off a building. This is already considered as harming the 2 families, and Voidless Realm has given strict orders to the 2 families to not have any casualties. Right now, my brother-in-law's younger brother died in vain, are we just going to let it go like this? Tang Wuxuang explained, Wang Debao. You're twisting words and forcing logic. I told him to jump off a building. Was I wrong to call him a playboy? Ask everyone, is this Bai Qi a playboy or not? Little girl, I saw that you were bullied by Bai Qi for a very long time tonight. Do you think that a man like him is a playboy or not? Tang Wuxuang asked Dongfang Yuan, Chapter 357. Extending his hand to hold Dongfang Yu's ice-cold little hand, Zhu Tian faintly said, Dongfang Yu, teacher knows that your heart is not feeling well, but as a psychology and hypnosis professor, I will help you. Guan Yanxin, who was at the side, rolled her eyes. Only an innocent lady like Dongfang Yuer would believe your nonsense. Of course, there was also him. He was really excited tonight. Dongfang Yuan didn't speak because she was in a very strange mood, excited and painful at the same time. The three of them sat in the Ferrari and left. Of course, Zhu Tian was carrying Dongfang Yuan. She was petite in the first place, so when he carried her, she felt even more soft. Of course, absolute heaven wouldn't be courteous. He gently caressed her, "Don't move around recklessly. This is a psychological counseling technique." What a despicable method of swindling people. Even Yihua disdained to do such a thing. If she said that she didn't like Zhu Tian, Dongfang Yuer would definitely not let him touch her. The incident that had just happened at the staircase was still vivid in her mind. Professor Zhu was a good person. He had saved her and protected her. Such a favor must be repaid. After all, the professor was the second person in the world who had helped him. As far as he could remember, his parents had never been together. His mother rarely came home. Sometimes she would come home once a month, sometimes once a year. Even his father had lost his memory. This time, his mother had sold herself out. Towards absolute heaven's assistance, Dongfang Yuan was sincerely grateful. Hence, no matter what absolute heaven did, Dongfang Yuan would not resist. "Hey, are you guys okay?" Guan Yanxin was jealous. After all, she was the main wife. She had to be fair. Zhu Tian slowly lifted Guan Yanxin's chin. "It'll be your turn soon." After arriving at Absolute Heaven's dormitory, Absolute Heaven had no intention of letting them off tonight. Just like what Lai Gu had said, only by letting them feel comfortable would I be able to obtain more information. For the sake of information, I, Absolute Heaven, throw caution to the wind. For Absolute Heaven, a small room with one bedroom and one living room was more than enough. Opening the fridge, Absolute Heaven took out a strange bottle of wine. This was not wine, but winged saliva. This wasn't a very powerful divine beast, it couldn't even reach the level of a spiritual beast, but it was extremely rare, because the saliva that dripped out had a mysterious fragrance. Absolute Heaven had once offered this kind of winged saliva to Yihua, but Yihua didn't think much of it. Just like how cats loved the smell of blood, Absolute Heaven was also a cat. However, the concentration of the winged saliva was close to that of alcohol. It was even very high, but it did not have the smell of alcohol. "Professor, could it be that he drugged it?" Guan Yanxin said sweetly, her beautiful eyes sparkling. Even if it was drugged, he would still drink it. Dongfang Yuer's beautiful eyes were filled with determination. Anyway, she had to repay this debt of gratitude. Fortunately, it was tonight. Without waiting for Guan Yanxin to drink, Dongfang Yuan raised her head and drank. The taste is not bad. It tastes like Lihaha's calcium milk. Sour and sweet. Why are you even more impatient than me? Guan Yanxin also drank it. However, after waiting for a long time, he didn't faint or get drunk. Zhu Tian poured another cup for the two of them. If you have any troubles, just tell teacher. Teacher will be your strong support. This winged saliva could even destroy the weakest part of a person's heart, causing them to develop trust. For example, when Absolute Heaven used his strong backing to break through Dongfang Yuer's defenses, it caused her to cry. Don't keep it in your heart. Zhu Tian patted Dongfang Yuer's back and consoled her. To Dongfang Yuer, she had too many burdens on her shoulders. Her mother was not at home, and she could only follow her grandmother. But her grandmother told her many things, and before she died, she even told her, the Dongfang family was wrongly accused, and you must clear Dongfang family's name. Professor, my Dongfang family was wrongly accused. Dongfang Yu'er could not hold it in any more and shouted. Zhu Tian's lips curled up. As expected. Then who is the one who wrongly accused the Dongfang family? Zhu Tian continued to ask. The current 5 great families. Dongfang Yu'er choked with sobs. She was so weak, and how could she win against those people? Zhu Tian was very excited to get this information. 100 years ago, the 5 great families wrongly accused Dongfang family, causing all the males in the family to be killed. If this matter was exposed, it would be a huge blow to Dongfang family's wife. Yanxin, don't you have anything to say? Zhu Tian asked curiously. Guan Yanxin smiled. I have seen too many of the scandals of the aristocratic families. I don't want to say anything, and I don't want to get involved. Indeed, you don't need to get involved, you just need to say it to yourself. Don't worry, teacher will help you. Zhu Tian said softly. His words were filled with incomparable confidence, causing Dongfang Yu'er to believe him. Guan Yanxin also raised her hand and smiled. I will help you too. Zhu Tian was very puzzled. Guan Yanxin smiled and explained, ever since father took over my grandfather's position, he changed. I don't want father to continue changing. If possible, I wish to live in a small family. Zhu Tian nodded his head. This kind of exchange is not excessive. Take it as your reward for helping me. Don't worry, I will help you realize your wishes. The 2 girls smiled faintly, but their smiles were filled with bitterness. Gradually, Dongfang Yu'er and Guan Yanxin laid on the table, drunk. Zhu Tian was a little irritated. He had chosen a despicable method to make them drunk. However, when he thought about what was going to happen, he felt as if something was stuck in his chest, causing him to want to vomit. Without a choice, Zhu Tian carried the 2 beauties onto the bed and took off their clothes. Looking at the flawless bodies in front of him, Zhu Tian didn't feel any temptation, and he only felt that the urge to vomit had lessened by quite a bit. Lai Gu, if your method doesn't work, I will report it to his honor and have his honor beat you up. Lai Gu expressed that it depended on the person, and if I lose, don't blame me for being weak. Zhu Tian turned over and pressed onto Dongfang Yu'er's body, then silently closed his eyes, just treat it as if I was bitten by a little puppy. Gritting his teeth, Zhu Tian deeply merged into Dongfang Yu'er's body. In less than 2 minutes, Dongfang Yu'er couldn't hold on anymore. Zhu Tian could only change his target, and Guan Yanxin couldn't hold on for more than 5 minutes. Zhu Tian felt that he should be done serving the 2 girls, and it's time to call it a day. So disgusting, they are all stained with some unknown liquid. Early in the morning, the magpies played a joyous symphony, seemingly celebrating the 2 girls becoming women. Although the experience was only a few short minutes, at the very least, the 2 girls had successfully transformed. After Zhu Tian finished serving the 2 girls last night, he slept on the sofa, because he was afraid of vomiting. At this moment, the 2 girls woke up faintly, and they immediately felt a certain part of their body aching. When they opened up the blanket to take a look, what an obvious bloodstain, and furthermore, there are 2 of them. Guan Yanxin and Dongfang Yu'er didn't become excited, it was as if they already knew what would happen. However, when they saw that Zhu Tian actually slept on the sofa and didn't sleep on the bed with them, they felt a bit strange in their hearts. Chapter 358. Absolute Heaven was very depressed. It was clearly you guys who were shouting that you couldn't do it anymore, yet now, you are still thinking of doing it yourself. How could this be? Professor Zhu, Teacher Zhu, come quickly. I don't even know what it feels like. Guan Yanxin was indignant. This was the most important moment in her life, and it was gone just like that. She didn't even get to taste the sweetness. Vexation could be seen between Zhu Tian's brows. However, he was also worried that Guan Yinxin would not listen to his words. According to what Lai Gu said, I have to *ck her until she is completely obedient. Thinking up to this point, Absolute Heaven felt slightly nauseous. Fortunately, he had not eaten anything yet. Zhu Tian stood up. Guan Yinxin's beautiful eyes lit up. Professor Zhu's strength was very strong. Dongfang Yuan, who was at the side, turned her head. She had already repaid him, and it could be said that she had fulfilled one of her wishes. Enduring the slight pain, Dongfang Yuan stood up. However, she was pressed back onto the bed by Absolute Heaven, who had walked over. Standing by the side, Guan Yinxin gulped down a mouthful of saliva. She did not know why, but when she saw Zhu Tian pressing down on Dongfang Yuan, she felt an indescribable sense of stimulation and excitement. Where are you planning to go? Zhu Tian asked coldly. Dongfang Yuan didn't dare to look at Zhu Tian's eyes and weakly said, I'm going to class. Today, I'll give you a good lesson. You're not allowed to go anywhere, Absolute Heaven said in a deep voice. Today, he would make the two of them obedient. As he spoke, he cupped his fists. Dongfang Yuan's charming face was filled with shock. She felt as though her body was about to break apart. Her slender palm pressed on Zhu Tian's chest. Very soon. Dongfang Yuan let out an alluring moan. 2 minutes later. Zhu Tian. I can't take it anymore. Dongfang Yuan's stamina was unable to keep up with the tempo. Absolute Heaven was too ferocious, and Dongfang Yuan's delicate body was simply unable to endure Absolute Heaven's torment. Zhu Tian asked coldly, will you be obedient in the future? I'll listen. I'll listen to you. Dongfang Yuan felt like she was about to faint. Hearing Dongfang Yuan's reply, Absolute Heaven felt relieved. Guan Yinxin, who was at the side, couldn't wait any longer. It was too exciting. Zhu Tian, come and get me. 10 minutes later. Ah! I don't want it anymore. I don't want it anymore. I surrender. Under Absolute Heaven's indiscriminate bombardment, Guan Yinxin persisted for 10 minutes before finally fainting. However, Absolute Heaven did not feel anything at all. Standing up, he glanced at the two people on the bed before disappearing from the room. Because I have important information to report to His Honor. Today, Yihua woke up very early, and Qing Yutong also changed a little today. Qing Yutong actually woke up very early to prepare breakfast for her brother-in-law. Did Yihua still not know what Qing Yutong meant? She wanted him to let her sister off lightly. How could that be possible? Brother-in-law, is this porridge hot? Yutong will help you blow it. Brother-in-law, is the temperature of this milk okay? Do you need Yutong to help you heat it up? It's still human body heating, so that you can understand it. Yihua, who was looking at Conan, turned his head around and asked, Yutong, are you that free? It's everyone's responsibility to serve their brother-in-law. Then give birth to brother-in-law's children. Ah, brother-in-law, you are so hateful, always thinking of doing bad things. Qing Yutong said while pinching her orchid-shaped fingers. Yihua said faintly, then scram. Bad brother-in-law, it has already been one night. Your anger should have more or less dissipated by now, right? Let's go and fetch big sister back together. Qing Yutong had done so much foreshadowing, wasn't it all for the sake of them reconciling? Yihua drank a mouthful of warm milk, not going. Brother-in-law, could it be that you don't miss Ali? Ali should also practice living independently. What's wrong with brother-in-law? In the past, when big sister gets angry, although he would also look angry on the surface, in his heart, he would always think of how to coax her. Look at this time, he completely doesn't have the intention of coaxing her at all. It has already been one day. Are they playing for real? Brother-in-law, Qing Yutong once again walked forward coquettishly and hugged onto Yihua's arm. Scram. All right. Looking at his sister-in-law leaving, Yihua slightly wrinkled his brows. These two ignorant women, I gave them an entire night's time, and yet, they still haven't returned. From the looks of it, they are determined to go against me. Not bad. Your guts have grown big, to dare to unscrupulously anger me just because you think that you are the woman that I love dearly. Subordinate pays respect to your honor. Zhu Tian's figure suddenly appeared beside Yihua, then knelt down on one knee and paid respect to Yihua. Get up, is there any progress? Yihua drank another mouthful of milk. Sister-in-law's milk is not bad, it has quite a nice texture. Zhu Tian stood up and said respectfully, after subordinate sacrificed my physical body, I received a huge reward. Pooh! Hearing Zhu Tian's report, Yihua spurted out the milk. Sacrificed your physical body, received a reward. Tell me, how did you sacrifice your physical body? Zhu Tian did not feel embarrassed at all. He told Yihua about the entire process, and he even sold out Lai Gu. It was clear that Zhu Tian wanted Lai Gu to be the scapegoat. However, after Yihua heard what Zhu Tian said, he was thinking about another question. Could it be that I didn't *ck them until they were completely submissive? Thinking about it, Donghuang Baiji made a move on me 3 years ago, while Qingye made a move on me only a few months ago. After tasting that wonderful feeling, they definitely wanted me to pamper them again, but in the end, I actually didn't do it. Thus, they became angry. This theory of Lai Gu's is not bad, he grasped the main point. It is precisely because they are too energetic, and also because they have a grudge against me, that's why they came up with this plan. But even so, do you think that I am that kind of person? You two can do whatever you want, it is your honor for me to pamper you two. To actually quarrel with me over this kind of thing, after I teach you two a lesson, I will make you two unable to get off the bed. Let's see if you two still have the energy to quarrel with me. Oh right, how do you plan to deal with those two women? Yihua asked curiously. Could it be that this iron tree has blossomed? To actually force them to drink wine, I have never been so shameless before. Zhu Tian slightly lowered his head to show respect, then said, after this, I will fulfill their wishes. After that? Yihua continued asking. Zhu Tian wrinkled his brows, that's all. Yihua took out a cigarette and lit it up, then said faintly, Zhu Tian, I will have to criticize you for this. Zhu Tian's expression tensed up, then immediately knelt down in front of Yihua, accepting the Supreme Overlord's criticism. Subordinate knows his mistake, Your Honor, please forgive me. Wait for me to finish speaking first. Yes. Zhu Tian continued to lean over and listen to Zhu Tian's words. Yihua didn't have any intention to wake Zhu Tian up and said faintly, men should be responsible for what they should be responsible for. Although what you did can be considered as a play, you took away the other party's first blood, and furthermore, the first blood was taken away by you while you were deceiving them. It can be seen just how sad they will be when the time comes. But Your Honor, Zhu Tian really doesn't like women, he isn't targeting them. Zhu Tian hurriedly explained. Yihua's expression turned cold, did I allow you to speak? Your Honor, please forgive me. Chapter 359. Zhu Tian, Your Honor, if you were honest, your wife wouldn't have left home. Just thinking about it was enough. Saying it out loud was a crime punishable by death. Thank you for your guidance, Your Honor. Get up. Thank you, Your Honor. Yihua flicked away that half a stick of cigarette ash and continued, in this aspect, you have to learn from Lai Gu and Wei Chang. Since you have already slept with them, in the future, I will stay by your side and properly serve you, I will be at ease. Just a moment ago, Absolute Heaven was still regretting. He regretted that he had impulsively taken those two women yesterday night, and he was even prepared to go and fight with Lai Gu. However, after hearing what his honor had said just now, Zhu Tian was so moved that he prostrated himself in admiration. So it turns out that his honor cares so much about me, and because his honor was afraid that I wouldn't have anyone to serve me, his honor found a woman for me. The sun and moon can bear witness to his honor's intentions. Zhu Tian, am terrified. Zhu Tian could be seen bowing respectfully to Yi Zichen, then saying gravely, "Thank you, Your Honor, for showing concern to your subordinate. Zhu Tian, you too have followed me through fire and water for so many years, it is time for you too to enjoy life. The gentleness of human women is indeed pleasurable, but sometimes, I really want to beat them to death." Originally, he was quite happy about it. However, when he thought of Qingye and Donghuang Baiji's actions yesterday, he became angry. Zhu Tian said in a low voice, "The wife chosen by his honor is definitely a phoenix among men. It is normal for her to have a bit of a temper. Alright, stop putting in good words for them. Is there any progress? Reporting to your honor, it is a breakthrough." Yi Hua's eyes lit up. "The sooner I can slap their faces, the better it will be. After all, the earlier they will be able to come back to me, the earlier I, the Supreme Overlord, am going to be living by myself, empty, lonely, and cold. Tell me." "Yes." Following which, Absolute Heaven recounted everything that had happened last night, as well as some of his own thoughts. After hearing that, Yi Hua took a deep breath. Well done. Hearing his honor's praise, Zhu Tian felt that he had succeeded in selling himself. "I hope your honor can give me some pointers." Zhu Tian was still very smart. "All of the credit belongs to his honor, and I was only following his honor's instructions." Yi Hua was also very satisfied with Zhu Tian's attitude. "Zhu Tian, what you mean is that we should spread the news about the longevity fruit to the north, thereby arousing the greed of the people in the north, and from there, we will be putting pressure on Voidless Realm." "That's right." Yi Hua laughed lightly, and a trace of coldness could be seen in his gaze. "Have you forgotten about their status in the south?" Absolute Heaven frowned. "Right now, the powers in the south are treating the two of them as female deities. If the news about the longevity fruit had started from the south, I reckon that these people wouldn't be calling them female deities, and instead, they would be shouting that everyone is equal." After finished speaking, Yi Hua laughed lightly. "The person you saved back then came back to cheat you. That must feel pretty good, right? In the end, you will understand a principle, only I treat you the best in this world. Your honor is wise, subordinate is truly too slow-witted." Zhu Tian praised. Yi Hua said faintly, "If the distribution of the longevity fruit is not handled properly, Voidless Realm, hee. Yi Hua had seen too many treasure-snatching battles. Regardless of whether it was an ally, a boss, or a brother, whoever that was in the way would be killed. Not to mention something that could extend one's lifespan. Luckily, Donghuang Baiji didn't tell me about this. If not, she would definitely suspect that I was the one who leaked this information. Not bad. But when I think about it, isn't he a little too distrustful of me? It's such a big matter, yet he didn't even tell me about it. In the future, I will definitely not spank you. Instead, I will make you beg for mercy. However, I will not forgive you." Upon thinking about how Qingye and Donghuang Baiji would be begging for mercy, Yi Hua couldn't help but feel pleased. Yi Hua continued, "We must definitely find evidence to prove the injustice done to Dongfang family. We must do whatever it takes, but we must not be found out. I am really curious how they will judge this case. Also, think of a way to make those families fight against each other." Zhu Tian said solemnly, "Your honor, do you want subordinate to make some arrangements for Shao family?" "You can make arrangements, don't let them be too idle." "Yes." After finished talking with Yi Hua, Zhu Tian returned to the dormitory. Looking at the two young girls who were lying on the bed, Zhu Tian felt that he should rest for a bit first and think about how to set up a trap for Shao Yi. As for spreading the news in the south, His Honor will make the arrangements. Yi Hua, who was sitting on the sofa, contacted Wei Chang. Right now, Wei Chang was currently waiting for Tang Wei in the university, and Wei Chang was currently holding onto a bouquet of flowers. This old man still knows how to be romantic. However, upon hearing His Honor's message, Wei Chang immediately disappeared from the campus. Coincidentally, Tang Wei rushed over at this moment and discovered that Uncle Wei wasn't around at all. To think that Uncle Wei said that he was going to give me a surprise. Your Honor. Go and having family, no, send someone to spread a piece of news. Make sure that those families are the first to know about it. Wei Chang didn't like to ask too many questions. I only need to do as His Honor says. Yes. Yi Hua let out a breath. Right now, the chess pieces are already in place. Little Qingye and Baiji, how can the two of you be my opponent? Hurry up and come back and apologize to me. After that, promise me what you did to me unconditionally. Perhaps, I will let bygones be bygones. When Wei Chang returned to the university, he looked around. Why isn't Xiao Tang here yet? Right now, at Voidless Realm, Donghuang Baiji had just finished holding a court meeting. After returning to Donghuang Li's courtyard, Qingye and Ali were temporarily staying together. Qingye was currently playing with Donghuang Li, and seeing that her mother had returned, Donghuang Li pounced onto her mother's embrace excitedly. Mommy, are we going back now? Ali didn't even kiss Daddy this morning. Donghuang Baiji laughed tenderly. Ali, Daddy has been very busy recently. Didn't you see that Aunt Qingye and I have returned? Ali isn't a child anymore. You two just made Daddy angry. After saying that, Ali pouted her little mouth and put on a look of, you two are bad guys. The two women had a helpless look on their faces. This Ali is too biased, she is always on her father's side. Donghuang Baiji could only coax her daughter, Ali, be good, play in Voidless Realm for a few days. After that, Mommy will bring you back to look for Daddy. Really? Donghuang Li asked while blinking her big eyes. And, really? True, that's great. Don't look at how little Donghuang Li is, in actuality, she knows a lot of things. Taking advantage of the fact that she is a child, Donghuang Baiji made use of the fact that her daddy and mommy will not continue to quarrel with each other. After letting the maid bring her daughter to play, Donghuang Baiji sat at the opposite of Qingye and let out a sigh. Soon after, Donghuang Baiji poured a cup of tea. What's the matter? Why are you frowning? Qingye asked curiously. This voidless realm is a good place, it would be great if Yi Hua could come over and stay here for a long time. During the court meeting today, Yu Chuan reported a matter. Just last night, Bai family's young master was insulted by Tang family's family head, and in the end, Bai family's family head committed suicide by jumping off a building. Bai family's Bai Zixin requested for Bai family's family head to give him an explanation. However, since both families are candidates for the position of Bai family's family head cannot act recklessly. Donghuang Baiji felt a headache. I told them not to fight, and now, someone even died. Chapter 360. Tang Wushuang also didn't instigate Bai Qi to jump off the building. Hearing Donghuang Baiji's words, Qingye asked confusedly, Baiji, do you think that Yi Hua is adding fuel to the fire? After I heard it, I also thought the same way. Therefore, I asked about the situation at that time in detail. There wasn't anything abnormal. Tang Wushuang and Bai Qi had a physical conflict and started to scold each other. In the end, it became a tragedy. Qingye silently nodded her head. If this was really done by Yi Hua, how could there be so many details? That clumsy fool only knows how to touch all day long. However, Bai Qi suddenly jumped off the building for no reason, so the two women were a little suspicious. It had to be said that Absolute Heaven had handled the details very well, making it so that others would not be able to see the truth of the matter, making it seem as if it was real. Qingye asked, "What do you plan to do? After all, you ordered them not to make a move. Now that someone has died, it seems to go against your words." This was what Donghuang Baiji was puzzled about. If I don't pursue this matter, wouldn't I be slapping my own face? If he were to pursue the matter, what reason would he use to pursue it? Just because you scolded someone, that person's heart became weak and couldn't take it anymore and committed suicide. Yet, you want to pay with your life. This is too absurd. I have never encountered such a thing before. Qingye, what do you think I should do? Right now, Donghuang Baiji really wanted to sleep on the bed and be hugged by Yihua. Now, he had only been out for a day, and something very troublesome had already happened. It was hard for Qingye to say who was at fault, but she did put forward an interesting point of view. Baiji, if this matter was arranged by Yihua, what is his intention? Qingye said with a smile. Donghuang Baiji took a sip of tea. Those moist lips were Yihua's favorite. If Yihua is really the mastermind behind all of this, then his goal should be right now. The two women looked at each other and smiled. With Yihua's personality, it is indeed possible. However, in the end, it is just a hypothesis, and there is no evidence to prove it. Right now, Qingye also missed Yihua. If Yihua was here, he would definitely have a lot of crooked reasoning. Although his reasoning was a bit crooked, it seemed to be effective. Could it be that she had wronged him? But you can't yell at me like that. No matter what, I'm your wife. What's wrong with saying a few nice words? Women don't need to be coaxed. On the contrary, Yihua never knows how to coax a woman. The two women discussed for a long time and finally came to a conclusion. Tang Wushuang gave a warning and consoled by family by giving them a bottle of bejeweled jade immortal dew as an excuse. Very quickly, the two families received the same result. Tang Wushuang was very unhappy with the warning punishment. What does that brat jumping off the building have anything to do with me? To actually give me a warning punishment, will I be punished or not? When Bai Cixin, who was wearing a white cloth on her head, received Voidless Realm's result and a bottle of bejeweled jade immortal nectar, there was not a single ripple on her face. She twisted open the bottle cap and sprinkled the bejeweled jade immortal dew in front of her little brother's memorial tablet. Clearly, she was not satisfied with this punishment, and even more so, she was dissatisfied with Voidless Realm. The murderer was actually only given a warning. Meanwhile, Yihua also stopped his wife's punishment and sneered, "You are truly soft-hearted. The more benevolent you are, the more others will think that you are easy to bully." As a big power, Voidless Realm had to display their iron-blooded side. You have too much to learn. However, this kind of punishment was within Yihua's expectations. It isn't your fault to be kind, the fault is to be kind to bad people. At this moment, Absolute Heaven was in the middle of a lecture, and he was being assaulted by the gazes of the female fans. However, he still had to retain his identity as a university professor. On the way back to the dormitory, Yihua bought some food. After all, there were still two women upstairs. Originally, Yihua wanted to let the two women fend for themselves after the mission ended, but since his honor had already spoken, he decided to let the two women stay by his side and serve him. However, looking at the lunchbox that was in his hand, Absolute Heaven felt that it wasn't the two women who were serving him. Absolute Heaven still didn't understand what his honor meant. The serving that Yihua said was not the serving that Absolute Heaven was thinking of. As a boss, Yihua naturally had to share his happiness with his subordinates. However, Absolute Heaven, who was like a cat, didn't feel the slightest bit of happiness, and instead, he felt that his chest was stuffy. Opening the door of the dormitory, Yihua saw the two women wearing his shirt and sitting at the table eating instant noodles. A young lady wearing a man's shirt has a different flavor, especially when there is nothing inside the shirt. If it was Lai Gu who was here, there was no need to say anything, Lai Gu would definitely speak with his strength. However, Absolute Heaven shifted his gaze away after taking a glance at the two women. I bought some rice for you too. Absolute Heaven placed the casserole rice on the table and said faintly. Guan Yinxin took a glance, then teased, Professor Absolute Heaven, you made our little sister suffer so much that she wants to die, and you want to send her away just like that? Dongfang Yuer's face immediately turned red. How could that be? Professor, don't listen to her nonsense. Then do it again with Professor Zhu. No. Dongfang Yuan rejected as expected. However, Absolute Heaven was unhappy. I'm letting you enjoy yourself, yet you don't want it. This was intolerable. I'll directly carry Dongfang Yuan onto my thighs, then. I'll fill up my brain. Guan Yinxin was stunned. This kind of life was perverted, especially when she saw you, in pain and happiness. It was even more exciting. Slowly standing up, Guan Yinxin actually gave Dongfang Yuan a wet kiss. This caused Dongfang Yuan to widen her beautiful eyes in disbelief. At the back was Zhu Tian, and at the front was Guan Yinxin. With Guan Yinxin's help, Dongfang Yuan soon fainted, and 10 minutes later, Guan Yinxin also fainted. However, Absolute Heaven did not feel anything. He only believed that he had completed his mission and obtained their loyalty. Of course, there was also a trace of refreshment, as if this trace of refreshment appeared in their normal and dizzy state. So, it turns out that even without using force, it is still possible to make a woman beg for forgiveness. What Lai Gu said is still correct. Zhu Tian wore his clothes and stood up, then said faintly, after watching this action movie for so long, aren't you going to give it a 5-star review? The corner of the bedroom gradually twisted, and 3 masked men actually appeared. When Zhu Tian entered the bedroom, he noticed that there were people that came in, and they were looking for him. Just that, I didn't expect that they would actually be able to watch the show for so long. Looking at their crotch, the tent isn't big. They might have been shocked by my strength, and they don't have the confidence to kill me anymore. Today, we are here to send you to hell. The man that was leading the group shouted out coldly and released quite a bit of spiritual energy. Zhu Tian said faintly, you should be Yinxin's big brother, right? I took a look at you yesterday. The man paused for a moment, and the spiritual energy on his body became a bit chaotic. Soon after, he shouted out, go and die. Zhu Tian sneered, then immediately tore off the man's mask. Zhu Tian, who was in front of Guanli, did not move at all, but his mask was gone, and Guanli immediately covered his face with his hands. What? You have the face to look at me, but don't have the face to admit it. Zhu Tian said calmly. Nonsense. Am I, Guanli, that kind of person? Guanli's face and ears became red. Originally, he was here to kill this professor according to his father's wish. When he came over, he didn't discover that there was no one around, and on the contrary, he saw his little sister and another girl. However, when he saw his little sister who was wearing a shirt, and Guanli actually didn't show his face, Guanli felt very excited. Chapter 361. Especially when he saw his younger sister taking advantage of that girl, his breathing actually became hurried, and he almost revealed himself. It was too exciting. Absolute Heaven spread out his hands and said, actually, I don't mind you peeking. Guanli was shocked. Actually, what I care about is that you entered my house without my permission. You didn't even take off your shoes. Absolute Heaven's gaze emitted a sinister chilliness. His pupils actually changed to that of a feline. Cats were very fond of cleanliness. The 3 men were shocked by the scene in front of them and took a step back reflexively. Suddenly, they felt something grab their feet. He lowered his head to look. Countless ghostly hands appeared on the floor as if they were trying to break free from the shackles. However, these ghostly hands grabbed their legs and dragged them down with all their might. Guan Li's body seemed to have sunk into a swamp, gradually sinking. No matter how the three men struggled, it was useless. "Brother-in-law, let's talk this out." Guan Li didn't think too much about it and hurriedly begged for mercy. This man's strength had been wrong. I'm listening." Guan Li was speechless. "I'm not asking you to listen to me, I'm asking you to let me go. Brother-in-law, let me go. I won't peek next time." Guan Li's eyes were filled with terror. Both of his feet had already sunk in, and even that disgusting ghostly hand was touching his chin. What was even more frightening was that he could still feel his feet. Someone was tearing his pants. He even took off all his clothes. Furthermore, Guan Li screamed in pain, and so did the two men behind him. On the bed, Guan Yinxin pursed her lips, turned over and hugged Dongfang Yu. The scene was extremely alluring. Guan Li endured the pain and shouted, "I'm Yan Xian's brother. If you kill me, she will hate you for the rest of her life. She won't know." Guan Li was speechless. "I feel so powerless talking to this man, Yan Xian. Quick, save brother, this is a demon." Guan Li shouted at Guan Yinxin. Sitting at the bedside, Absolute Heaven said indifferently, "You saw it for yourself just now. I beat them down. You. Don't worry, I will treat your sister well." Guan Li stared at Absolute Heaven with a dumbfounded expression. "Are you sure you want to say such words at a time like this? Isn't it inappropriate? I curse you, woo." The three heads gradually disappeared, and the floor returned to normal. "Hey, Mr. Ju, it's so noisy. Who's shouting?" Guan Yinxin whined. "Unimportant person, since you're awake, let's begin." "Ah. No." From what Lai Gu said, when a woman said no, it meant that she wanted it. Absolute Heaven once again became enraged, causing Guan Yinxin to lose the strength to even move her fingers. On the other hand, Dongfang Yuan was much smarter. Even though she was awake, she was still pretending to be unconscious. However, who was Absolute Heaven? Did he think that he would be fine just because he fainted? Dongfang Yuer's pleas for mercy rang out in the room. Could this be considered as just escaping from the wolf's mouth and entering the tiger's den? Of course, the former was resisting, while the latter was willing. Unlike Lai Gu's reaction was instinctive, and he also enjoyed it. Absolute Heaven was not enjoying the process. Rather, he was enjoying the instant of pleasure. He had to admit that the 7 deadly sins all had their own unique tastes. In actuality, Yizizi's taste was a bit heavy as well, just that she didn't show it. At night, Absolute Heaven planned to pay a visit to his father-in-law and create an alibi. This brother of his still has some value. Although your wives are kind, it doesn't mean that they are stupid. Guan Yinxin was driving the Ferrari, while Absolute Heaven was carrying the frail Dongfang Yuan and sitting on the front passenger seat. Dongfang Yuan was wearing a dress, and right now, her dress had already reached her waist. Guan Yinxin, who was driving, would tease Dongfang Yuan from time to time. "I feel that I have already fallen in love with this kind of life. Just what kind of life did I live in the past? Thinking about it, it feels so dull and boring." Guan family was situated in the mountainous area outside of Zijin City. It was an old residence. Right now, the interior of the residence was brightly lit, and it seemed like something was being held. Guan Yinxin stopped the car and got off the car to take a look, then muttered, "Today is actually the gathering of the aristocratic families at the end of the month. Do the aristocratic families even gather for a gathering?" Absolute Heaven supported Dongfang Yuan, who was standing unsteadily, and asked curiously. Guan Yinxin nodded her head. "This is a rule that has been passed down from generation to generation. Perhaps it is because the aristocratic families wish to interact more with each other and not become unfamiliar with each other. However, Voidless Realm might not have thought that not only did this kind of gathering not achieve the desired effect, the things that they did were also disgusting. Guan Yinxin added. The corner of Absolute Heaven's mouth curved up slightly. Information came again. There are some things that I can't ask too much about. It would only be reasonable for Guan Yinxin to say it herself. What disgusting things. Absolute Heaven pulled Guan Yinxin to his side and caressed her body with his palm. If not for the fact that she was wearing a dress, his palm would have already entered her body. Being caressed by Absolute Heaven, Guan Yinxin immediately felt weak. Fortunately, there were not many people at the place where the car was parked. However, she felt that it was very exciting. There are too many of them, I usually don't participate in this kind of gathering. Guan Yinxin only felt excited when she was with Absolute Heaven. It wasn't that she was a loose girl, she was relatively conservative, it was just that when she saw Absolute Heaven bullying Dongfang Yuan, she couldn't endure it anymore. Because Dongfang Yuan looked like she really wanted to go and bully her, and even Guan Yinxin, who was a woman, wanted to bully her. Hearing Dongfang Yuan's sweet begging sounds, Guan Yinxin felt so good that her soul would leave her body. Dongfang Yuan had such a great charm. Therefore, Absolute Heaven had picked up two treasures. If Lai Gu were to come across them, he would definitely be jealous of Absolute Heaven's luck. To be able to get two such unique women while doing a mission, his luck is too good. Especially Dongfang Yuan. In the end, even Yi Hua was envious of Absolute Heaven for being able to have such a woman. Not only Yi Hua, every single man from the 7 deadly sins was envious of Absolute Heaven's luck with women, and in the end, one of the 7 deadly sins wanted to protect Dongfang Yuan and fought against Absolute Heaven. Meanwhile, Yi Hua sat at the side and watched the show while eating sunflower seeds. The feeling that Dongfang Yuan gave off was, everyone, quickly come over, there is a soft girl here, quickly come and bully her. Seriously, bullying Dongfang Yuan feels so good, especially when he heard Dongfang Yuan's soft begging sounds, even Absolute Heaven felt good. One must know that Absolute Heaven had never felt good before. In the past, he didn't even have any fluctuation in his emotions, and right now, he actually felt good because of Dongfang Yuan. This is even more interesting than killing someone. Absolute Heaven, why are you always bullying little sister Yu? Guan Yinxin walked at the side and supported onto Dongfang Yuan. This caused Dongfang Yuan to feel very grateful. My entire body is already completely devoid of strength, and I feel as if my entire body is about to float. Guan Yinxin added on, even if you want to bully her, you should at least call me along. Dongfang Yuan right after Dongfang Yuan finished speaking, Yi Hua gave the weak and gentle Dongfang Yuan a long kiss. Absolute Heaven didn't mind at all and said faintly, all right, let's go in first, we will play again after we return home tonight. Play again. Chapter 362. Miss. 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 The guards at the door shouted respectfully. However, they felt that it was a little strange. Why was the young miss carrying a blushing and weak beauty in her arms? And looking at the young miss, she seemed to be very evil. The man next to her was full of righteousness and was a gentleman. Guan Yinxin supported Dongfang Yuan and nodded to the guards, then walked in. He didn't forget to take advantage of Dongfang Yuan. As the daughter of an aristocratic family, she naturally had some strength, but Dongfang Yuan didn't, and could only be manipulated by him. How pitiful. Zhu Tian, on the other hand, did not wish to meddle in their private matters. He looked around for a moment, preparing his plan. Now, he had a good idea. Dongfang Yuan was originally from the Dongfang family, and if she could obtain an ancient godly item, she would definitely be able to participate in the selection. However, I will also be suspected by your madam. Regarding this matter, I still need to discuss it with His Honor. I cannot act on my own accord. Yen Xian, don't bully you anymore. Zhu Tian glanced at Yen Xian, a hint of helplessness in his tone. He saw Guan Yinxin pressing Dongfang Yue against the wall. She was currently enjoying Dongfang Yue's cherry lips without the slightest bit of restraint. Who knows where her pair of delicate hands were touching? The pitiful Dongfang Yue was passively enjoying all of this, and she felt as if her soul had gone astray. Hearing Zhu Tian's words, Guan Yinxin stopped her frivolous actions. However, when she saw Dongfang Yue's delicate and pitiful appearance, she wanted to bully her again. Zhu Tian protected Dongfang Yue in his embrace. All right, stop bullying Yue. You, Professor Zhu spoke up for you. Guan Yinxin said with a beaming smile. The latter buried her head deep into Zhu Tian's bosom. This isn't an ordinary tiger's den. I'm really worried that my body will be torn apart by them. Hugging Dongfang Yue, Zhu Tian asked, Yue, are you happy? Dongfang Yue's face couldn't help but turn red, and she couldn't help but recall the matters of the past 2 days. She felt that it was too sudden, as if her life had changed in an instant. But was he happy? It seemed to be a little, like being cared for like this. Professor Zhu, in that case, can I make a request? Dongfang Yue said weakly. Just this tone alone was enough to show that he wanted to bully her. Zhu Tian nodded his head. Go ahead. Dongfang Yue said in a low voice, My body is weak, can I not do it every day? According to Lai Gu's experience, when a woman says this, it means that she is not satisfied. A satisfied woman would wish that you are like this every single day. No. Zhu Tian felt that Dongfang Yue was the one who was dissatisfied with him. This is something that concerns the success rate of His Honor's mission, and I cannot be sloppy about this. It seems that I will have to take special care of Dongfang Yue. Dongfang Yue was in despair. However, this expression of despair gave Zhu Tianmeng the urge to bully her. This woman was just asking for it. I will help you wash away your family's injustice, and let you become the family head of the aristocratic family. That was what Zhu Tian planned. However, this wasn't the life that Dongfang Yue wanted. Zhu Tian, thank you for what you've done for me. However, I don't want to be some family head. Then, what do you want? Zhu Tian asked. A stable life. Dongfang Yue's wish was very ordinary. She wanted to study hard, find a stable job, find a man she liked, and live a simple life. However, she was sold off by her mother. However, she met Zhu Tian, and was destined to not be an ordinary person in this life. Zhu Tian said indifferently, You will have this kind of life. Dongfang Yue's heart trembled, then immediately after, her heart was filled with sweetness. In actuality, being bullied by Zhu Tian like this was something that she was willing to do. After all, Zhu Tian was her benefactor, the second person that was good to her, and this was enough for her. On the other hand, Zhu Tian's words of love that aren't easily spoken can be given full marks. If Zhu Tian had this kind of ability, wouldn't Qingye and Baizhi become obedient rabbits? Unfortunately, Yihua wanted to save face. Using Yihua's words, I will not say those mushy words of love. If not for the fact that they deeply loved Yihua, Qingye and Baizhi would definitely not be able to endure Yihua's temper. Very soon, the three arrived outside of the banquet hall. After the guards went to inform the guards, the three walked into the banquet hall. The banquet hall could be seen to be very grand. All of the utensils on the table were spirit artifacts, and even the red carpet on the floor was spirit artifacts. Therefore, the items that were sold in the auction that day were all things that Yi family did not want. However, for ordinary families, those items could be stored away like treasures. Guan Tong sat on the main seat. After all, this banquet was held by Guan family this month. Yi Shao, Jiang Yuanzhou, Chu He, and an unfamiliar middle-aged woman. This woman's appearance was not beautiful, but strange. Because the left side of her face was not symmetrical with the right side of her face, if this kind of face were to appear at night, it would definitely scare people to death. This woman was the family head of Duan family. Her name was Duan Ho, and her name was just like her name. She did not have the ability to become pregnant, and thus, she did not have any children. Of course, this was because she was harmed by someone, which was why she changed her name to Duan Ho. Her temperament was also strange, and she liked to torture men, especially handsome men. From the looks of it, this Duan Ho is also a woman with a story. Chapter 363. Because the family head did not let his daughter sit behind him. Guan Yinxin, on the other hand, didn't mind. She was already tired of this kind of life. Her life with Zhu Tian was filled with excitement and temptation, and she liked it even more when Zhu Tian conquered her. Sitting at the back, Zhu Tian and Guan Yinxin did not continue to bully Dongfang Yuan. After all, there were many people around. Guan Yinxin showed her concern. She knew that Dongfang Yuan was very weak, and she probably didn't even have the strength to raise her hand right now. Guan Yinxin personally peeled fruits for Dongfang Yuan to eat to replenish her strength. Dongfang Yuan was very grateful. She had been bullied by Zhu Tian 4 to 5 times today, and she had no energy left. What is my big brother secretly talking about? Guan Yinxin saw her big brother, Guan Li, walking towards her father and whispering, causing her father's face to darken. Zhu Tian silently drank a mouthful of tea. This alibi should work. Next, it will depend on my family's reaction. Whether or not something happens tonight will depend on how much Bai Cixin dotes on her little brother. Right now, a funeral was being held in Bai family's castle, and various family heads sent their sincere condolences. Among them, there was even a youngster who was looking around. This youngster was Dou Fusher, who had not appeared for a long time. Zhu Tian needed an unfamiliar face to go to Bai family to say a few words. However, in the group, the madams seemed to have never seen Dou Fusher before. Today, Dou Fusher received the black-gowned big brother's order, and immediately went to Zijin City. According to the order, he killed the Tang family's little brother who came to mourn, and then came himself. The current Dou Fusher was no longer the youngster who only knew how to catch ghosts. Even big shots had to submit to him, let alone a small family. This kind of mission was not difficult at all, and the black-gowned big brother even told him to be careful. A guest has arrived. Dou Fusher opened the flower wreath in his hand and shouted out gravely, Northern Tang family has sent their blessings, Pa, they have sent their condolences. Bai Cixin, who was wearing a white muslin dress, slowly raised her head and looked at Dou Fusher with killing intent in her beautiful eyes. Wang Debao also stared at Dou Fusher. This Tang family came to send their condolences. It was obviously a deep irony. Dou Fusher swallowed his saliva. I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid of anything. I'll just follow my lines. Cough. Patriarch Bai, you don't have to be sad. Patriarch Bai said that it's a good thing to have one less tumor in society, lest more tragedies happen in the future. Clan head also said that he is very sorry for Bai Chi's death. He hopes that clan head Bai can restrain his grief and give birth to a son soon. He hopes that your child will not become like this and jump off a building to commit suicide. After saying that, Dou Fusher heaved a sigh of relief. Today's mission could be considered completed. However, this woman was crying as she looked at him. Could it be that she had been moved by his charm? Sigh, the head of the Bai family was too frivolous. But if he really wanted to flirt with me, I would just symbolically resist for a while and then accept my fate. A cold and gloomy wind suddenly blew in the morning hall. Dou Fusher looked at the black tower in Bai Cixin's hand. However, a ball of ferocious black fog attacked him, and then his consciousness blurred. Didn't you say there was no threat? How could this be? I was fooled by Big Brother Black Robe. No wonder sister-in-law told him to be careful before he left. It seemed that sister-in-law still loved me and knew that things were dangerous. Bai Cixin openly used an ancient godly item to kill someone in her little brother's morning hall, causing everyone in the surroundings to be stupefied. I feel that something big is going to happen tonight. Bai Cixin slowly stood up and shouted out gravely, Tang family is going too far. My Bai family and Tang family are irreconcilable enemies. Ordinary families wouldn't dare to get involved in a fight like this, as they were afraid of getting implicated. After all, Bai Cixin was currently disregarding Voidless Realm's order. Wang Debao was not a coward, and thus, he naturally supported his wife. Xiao Yi. Do you dare to follow me to Tang family? Xiao Yi, who was sitting at the side, pondered. If Tang Wushuang were to become the head of a family, his days would definitely not be good. I am going to exterminate Tang family tonight. Bai Cixin will also receive Voidless Realm's punishment, and I won't be able to escape as well. However, at the very least, my crime will be lighter, and I will be able to get rid of any future threats. This is a pretty good choice. Furthermore, with two ancient godly items, why would I be afraid of a small Tang family? Let's go. Xiao Yi chose to exterminate Tang family to get rid of any future troubles. Bai Cixin said to the family heads present, after tonight, you all can say whatever you want. However, if someone were to go and drink water tonight, that person would be making an enemy out of my Bai family. Since Bai Cixin had already said it to this point, everyone naturally wouldn't go and tell on Bai Cixin. After all, this was human nature. This Tang family is too excessive, they actually sent people over to mock us. Bai Cixin brought along Bai family's people and charged towards Tang family. Of course, there was also Wang Debao and Xiao Yi. A huge battle tonight is unavoidable. The people in the morning hall gradually dispersed, and only Dou Fusher's gloomy expression was left behind. Death Mage suddenly appeared and brought Dou Fusher away. Soon after, Death Mage transferred a bit of healing black mist to Dou Fusher. Dou Fusher immediately woke up. Woo, you scared me to death, big brother, and you still dare to say that there is no danger. GGG, Imperial Translation, of course there is no danger, aren't you fine? Dou Fusher's heart was filled with despair. After experiencing the thrill of death, this feeling is simply too terrifying. Sun Fong came over with a bowl of porridge, drink some porridge, today's mission was done very well. Dou Fusher happily received the bowl of porridge, thank you, sister-in-law. Eldest sister-in-law treats me the best. It seems that she can't forget me, but it's not convenient for her to express it. At this moment, in Tang family's manor, Tang Wushuang was actually sitting in front of the dressing table, and his two wives were currently helping him put on makeup. Her expression did not change. Although she was disappointed, it was better than seeing her husband collapse. Am I beautiful? Tang Wushuang's voice had completely changed, and his face had also changed. Everything had changed. Quan Anrong looked at her husband in the mirror and took a deep breath. Her husband's appearance was getting better day by day, and he was about to lose to her. Furthermore, there was even a hint of flirtatiousness between her brows. Beautiful. Quan Anrong didn't dare to imagine what would happen next. It was the same for Mu Jia. Her husband had become neither human nor ghost, and she still had to keep smiling. Tang Wushuang stretched out his long and thin finger and stroked his own beautiful face. He was incomparably happy. So this is how it feels to become a woman. It seemed like his mentality had changed. Suddenly, Bai Cixin's delicate shout resounded from outside the house, Tang Wushuang. Get out here and pay for my brother's death. Tang Wuxuang's brows wrinkled, then snorted, ignorant woman. Wuxuang. His two wives called out worriedly. Tang Wuxuang said, you two stay at home and wait for me to kill that bitch. Be careful. Tang Wuxuang's current strength was much higher than before. If Tang Wuxuang was a Santana in the past, then he was currently a Portia. Looking at Bai Cixin, Xiao Yi, Wang Debao, and the others who were in front of him, Tang Wuxuang shouted out, what are you looking for me for? Chapter 364. I'm Tang Wuxuang. When he said that, half of the Bai family was stunned. Looking at the beautiful woman in front of him, she is Tang Wuxuang. Even if he had run away from the Koreans once, there was no way he would end up like this. Xiao Yi walked forward and shouted, stop acting mysterious, call Tang Wuxuang out. I am Tang Wuxuang. Tang Wuxuang was also very angry, no one actually believed in him. In that case, he could only take out the ancient divine weapon-piercing tomb. After obtaining Voidless Realm's confirmation, Voidless Realm returned the Ling Qi back to Tang Wuxuang. Everyone looked at the ancient godly item in Tang Wuxuang's hands and rubbed their eyes. Is this really Tang Wuxuang? After all, an ancient godly item would only appear in the hands of the patriarch. Who would give it to someone else? Are you really Tang Wuxuang? Wang Debao found it hard to believe, this kind of woman is actually on the same level as my wife, my god. Also, how did Tang Wuxuang's chest muscles become so big? Tang Wuxuang's beautiful face sank, and in an instant, he emitted out a world-shaking spiritual energy, causing everyone from the Bai clan to be dumbstruck. If this person wasn't Tang Wuxuang, then who could it be? Bai Cixin's killing intent was firm. No matter whether you're Tang Wuxuang or not, I'm going to bathe this Tang clan in blood today. Bai Cixin, are you out of your mind? Voidless Realm had instructed us again and again. So what? You sent people over to humiliate me, so I'll definitely return it to you today. The 9 demons punishing tower had already appeared in Bai Cixin's hand. Wang Debao took out a set of shiny golden armor from the system, while Xiao Yi took out the Xinyuan sword. Tang Wuxuang recalled the people he had sent out and said in a deep voice, where are my people? Kill him. You dare to kill my brother-in-law. Tang Wuxuang immediately emitted out a sharp killing intent. I'm not only going to kill your brother-in-law, I'm going to kill your entire family. Bai clan, listen up, slaughter the Tang clan. In order to avenge her brother, Bai Cixin was willing to pay any price. It could be seen how much she valued her brother. Tang Wuxuang didn't expect that things would turn out like this. Today, he indeed had the intention of flirting with her by asking people to go and mourn her. However, he didn't expect that there would be such a result. However, Tang Wuxuang wasn't scared, and he shouted, Tang clan's people, listen up. Kill. In an instant, both parties started fighting against each other, and right now, Tang Wuxuang was actually able to fight against 3 people by himself. It could be seen that this cultivation technique was indeed powerful. In the villa, Gue Qingren stood by the window and looked at the situation outside, and his phone suddenly rang. It's updated. He immediately started reading. When Absolute Heaven, who was currently attending the banquet, received the report, the corner of his lips curled up slightly. He was in a very good mood. Sure enough, he had guessed correctly. Bai Cixin loved her younger brother very much. In order to avenge her younger brother, she even gave up her position as a member of an aristocratic family. For a woman who loved power, this choice was truly admirable. However, to Absolute Heaven, this was just a quest. If she could fall for it, she would naturally be happy. If she couldn't, it didn't matter. He naturally had other methods. Right now, I only need an opportunity, and everything will be so natural, the slightly happy absolute heaven hugged Dongfang Yuer in his arms and started to take liberties with her again. Ju Tian, don't let's go home first. Dongfang Yuan Air said pitifully. That tender and pitiful look of hers made one's heart ache, but at the same time, it also made one unable to help but to want to continue bullying Ju Tian. Absolute heaven nodded his head and said in a low voice, next time, don't wear such a long skirt. Guan Yinxin said sweetly, then I won't even wear underwear. Sure. Absolute heaven said with a deadpan expression, as if he was discussing a very deep problem. At the banquet, Duan Ho raised her head and drank a cup of wine, then asked, Yi Shao, I heard that your son and sage doctor disappeared together. My son might have gone somewhere to handle some matters with sage doctor. Yi Shao squeezed out a smile and said. This is not what Chu family's young master said. This matter has to be investigated properly. The crime of murdering the son of an aristocratic family is not small. Duan Ho's words had the intention of sowing dissension, but that was the truth. Absolute heaven who was sitting below the banquet caressed Dongfang Yuer lightly and listened to their conversation. Chu, he said gravely, my son definitely wouldn't do such a thing. Duan Ho, you better pay attention to your words. Duan Ho said faintly, however, I heard that after the banquet ended, young Master Chu brought along 2 ladies and left. Those 2 ladies were very eye-catching on that day. Yi Shao and Chu He's gaze sunk. Because, in Chu Bai's confession, those 2 ladies did not appear. Chu Bai. Is what Duan Ho said true or not? Chu he questioned angrily. Chu Bai felt uneasy in his heart. He didn't know if anyone saw the Qing sisters get on the carriage that day. Could it be that someone saw it? If someone really saw it, wouldn't it be troublesome? After all, they would go and find trouble with the Qing sisters. Chu Bai. I'm asking you a question. Chu he shouted once again. Yes. All the patriarchs present gasped. Because this was related to the level of snatching women. Yi Tai and Sage Doctor might have met with misfortune, and this Chu Bai was the first to complain, taking the initiative. Anyway, dead men tell no tales. Chapter 365. Yen Axian, let's go catch the culprit, Ju Tian said indifferently. He then brought the 2 women with him as he gave chase. After all, if it was too far away, it would be difficult to control it. Some corpses were still quite useful. A black figure was seen running away at high speed, followed by the clan masters of the 5 great clans. Such a situation was unprecedented. Behind them, Ju Tian carried the 2 women in his arms as he leisurely followed behind them. The matters that happened tonight will cause your wife to be vexed once again. If your wife is willing to listen to his honor's words, I wouldn't have to do all these things. At this time, the Tang family manor was flowing with blood. It was too horrible to look at. The ground was littered with the corpses of people from both sides, and broken limbs. At this moment, Tang Wushuang was also heavily injured, and blood was flowing down from his arm. Bai Zixin, Wang Debao, and Xiao Yi all had different kinds of injuries on their bodies, but they were just minor injuries, so they were nothing to be afraid of. It seemed like even with the 3 of them joining hands, Tang Wushuang was still unable to handle them. Wushuang. And Rong isn't going to make it. A few pretty wives ran out of the villa. Quan Anrong's face was pale. There were no wounds on his body, but he was twitching as if he had been cursed. This was the vengeful spirit of the 9 demons' punishment pagoda. Quan Anrong did not expect it to be entangled with him. Tang Wushuang's expression changed greatly as he ran to the front of his beloved wife. The ancient godly item that was in his hand fell onto the ground, and he hugged onto Quan Anrong. And the ancient godly item that fell on the ground suddenly disappeared. Gue Qingren kept the ancient godly item, shook his head, and prepared to leave. And Rong. Tang Wushuang shouted out. Quan Anrong's delicate body was entangled by the vengeful spirits. Her expression was one of agony, and it looked like she was about to die. Tang Wushuang's expression was flustered, and he hurriedly shouted towards Bai Cixin, who was in the sky. Bai Cixin, if you have any grudges, come at me. So what if you killed my woman? Tang Wushuang. What about you? So what if you killed my brother? Bai Cixin had no intention of letting go. You killed my younger brother, so I'll kill your woman. I'll let you experience the pain of losing a family member. Xiao Yi, who was at the side, looked at Tang Wushuang, who was far away. That helpless look of his is extremely similar to me back then. What was the difference between his actions and black robes? But for the family, they had no choice but to do so. Irony, a huge irony. When Tang Wushuang saw that his beloved wife was getting weaker and weaker, he actually turned around and knelt down to Bai Cixin. Bai Cixin. You can take my life, but let my woman go. Dream on. I want you to watch her die. You. Mu Jie shouted out, Wushuang, and Rong, she. Tang Wushuang turned his head around to take a look, and his beloved wife had already left, and that pair of beautiful eyes of hers was currently looking at him. There was a look of reluctance on his face, and he even stretched out his hand, as if he didn't want her to give in. And Rong. Tang Wushuang rolled and crawled on the ground as he hugged onto his beloved wife. Smelling that familiar scent, Tang Wushuang let out a painful howl. That mournful howl caused Xiao Yi's expression to turn gloomy, and he couldn't help but recall that day when Sini died in his embrace. Bai Cixin. I want your life. All of a sudden, Tang Wushuang burst out a terrifying evil aura. Black lines appeared on her pretty face, making her look sinister and terrifying. Sharp teeth actually grew out of her skin, making people's hair stand on end. The spiritual pressure emanating from his body was even stronger than before. Bai Cixin and the others' expressions darkened. What kind of monster is this? However, a black shadow suddenly appeared in the middle of the two sides and stopped. The clan heads of the 5 great clans immediately appeared at the scene. Looking at the scene in front of them, their brows furrowed. The Tang and Bai clans were actually having a bloodbath. The casualties are so tragic. When Bai Cixin and Xiao Yi saw the 5 family heads who rushed over, they were a bit surprised. Didn't they come over too quickly? When Tang Wushuang saw the 5 family heads rushing over, the sinister expression on his face gradually faded away, and he returned back to his delicate appearance. Tang Wushuang immediately kneeled on the ground and begged, family heads. This Bai Cixin is vicious, he killed my beloved wife and exterminated my Tang family. Family heads, please uphold justice for me. Bai Cixin hurriedly explained, family heads. This Tang Wushuang sent people to cause trouble at my little brother's mourning hall and humiliated my Bai family. But didn't my brother-in-law still get killed by you? Tang Wushuang shouted out. I also want to kill your whole family. The 2 family heads each held on to a statement, and Yi Shao shouted out, everyone, be quiet. Only at this moment did everyone see that the black-robed man in the middle seemed to be very weak. Guan Tong questioned coldly, who sent you to kill my son? Tang and Bai family were startled. This black-robed man killed the son of an aristocratic family. Isn't this a bit too awesome? The black-robed man seemed to know that he wouldn't be able to escape, and he took a deep look at the 4 family heads who were standing together. This gaze seemed to be telling Guan Tong that the murderer was one of the 4 family heads. Meanwhile, the expressions of the 4 family heads changed. This is framing. The black-robed man suddenly slapped himself. Don't. Guan Tong wasn't in a hurry to stop the black-robed man, and he could only watch as the black-robed man turned into blood mist and fell onto the ground. Guan Tong slowly turned his head around and looked towards the other 4 family heads. Who was it? Who was the one who called him here? Jiang Yuanzhou said gravely, family head Guan, please calm down. Jiang Yuanzhou, was it you? Yesterday, I made you lose face, and today, you killed my son. How could Jiang Yuanzhou be able to stand being framed like this? He shouted out, Guan Tong. Without any evidence, don't slander me. All of you are suspects. I will report this matter to Voidless Realm and have Voidless Realm give my Guan family justice. After finished speaking, Guan Tong left. The other 4 family heads looked at Tang family and Bai family, and Chu He said gravely, you all can just wait for Voidless Realm's punishment. The 4 family heads hurriedly left. Bai Cixin clenched her teeth and shouted out, retreat. Bai family head. Xiao Yi shouted out. This Tang Wushuang is letting him go just like that. Family head Xiao, the aristocratic families have already interfered. If you continue to kill him, it will be a crime punishable by extermination of your family. After finished speaking, Bai Cixin left with Wang Debao. There is a difference between fighting secretly and fighting without listening to others' advice. You are still afraid of the former, and you are completely not giving face to the latter. Xiao Yi looked at Tang Wushuang who was carrying his wife, then let out a light sigh, then turned around and left. Today, I didn't manage to kill him, and instead, I still have to wait for Voidless Realm's punishment. I am truly unlucky. With unwillingness, Xiao Yi left Tang family. Meanwhile, Tang Wushuang who was carrying his wife's corpse walked into the house. This hatred is getting bigger and bigger. On the other side, Zhu Tian was carrying Dongfang Yuer and Guan Yanxin who had already fainted. Looking at the faint light emitted from the forest, Zhu Tian carried the 2 women and walked towards the light source. Gue Qingren who was reading a novel suddenly stopped his footsteps, then turned off his phone and asked, Your Excellency, what's the matter? Zhu Tian placed the 2 women down, then rubbed onto his eyes and said faintly, Lend me that dagger. Gue Qingren turned around and looked towards Zhu Tian. Why? Because it isn't yours. Zhu Tian looked at Gue Qingren coldly. He didn't like this person at all. Gue Qingren chuckled, I have seen arrogant people before, but I have rarely seen someone as arrogant as you. Seems like my arrogance didn't disappoint you. Do you want me to fight with you? Zhu Tian asked curiously. Chapter 366. After setting up a barrier to protect the 2 women, Zhu Tian rubbed his eyes and said faintly, If I move a single step today, it will be my loss. Arrogant. Too arrogant. Too arrogant. Gue Qingren had never seen such a pretentious man before, to actually dare to say such words. Unbearable. All right. If I am unable to kill you today, you can take my life. All right. A breeze blew past, and a few fallen leaves slowly fell to the ground. The sound of the leaves swaying against each other could be heard. This made Zhu Tian recall some things. Hurry up and finish this, then go back and make them submit to me. Gue Qingren took out Ci Ling. Although Ci Ling is only a dagger, its might cannot be underestimated. Back then, Tang Wushuang even used it to pierce through Xiao Yi's armor. It is not an exaggeration to say that it can cut through iron like mud. And Gue Qingren's understanding of Ci Ling seems to be even more thorough. Spiritual cut. Following Gue Qingren's shout, the spiritual energy on his body gradually spread out and actually rushed towards Ci Ling. Ci Ling greedily absorbed the spiritual energy like a 3-year-old child, and the blade of the dagger became brighter and brighter. Spiritual test. Gue Qingren raised Ci Ling with both hands. A layer of black clouds suddenly condensed in the sky. Boom! Boom! Thunder suddenly sounded out, and one after another, lightning struck down. Ci Ling was like a lightning rod as he absorbed the power of the lightning. Spiritual cut. An even more powerful spiritual energy gushed out from Gue Qingren's body, and gradually, the spiritual energy actually turned into a small white ball. Gue Qingren bit his finger, and a drop of blood slowly floated into the small white ball of spiritual energy. In an instant, the small white ball of spiritual energy turned red, and soon after, the small white ball of spiritual energy merged with Ci Ling. Right now, Ci Ling was alternating between white and red, emitting a wild might that sounded like the roar of 10,000 beasts. In front of Zhu Tian's eyes, it was as if the end of the world had arrived. Right now, Ci Ling was no longer a small dagger, rather, it was an existence that was even more ferocious than an ancient godly item. This Ci Ling had already surpassed the level of an ancient godly item, which made Zhu Tian a bit curious. And after Gue Qingren finished using the buff, he became a lot weaker. After many years of comprehension, I have finally come up with this move. What bullshit, voidless realm, this move of mine will be able to take the Empress's head. After many years of comprehension and application, this was what Gue Qingren had learned from reading novels. Initially, he was just trying it out of curiosity, but he didn't expect to succeed. Reading novels was really a good thing. Absolute Heaven nodded his head. This person was indeed very powerful, especially that move of his. Speak. Just what are you here for? I'll leave you an intact corpse. Gue Qingren questioned. Zhu Tian calmly replied, I just wanted to use your dagger. Use for what? Gue Qingren asked curiously. My handmaiden is a member of the Dongfang family. As her master, I naturally have to help her clear her grievances. Humph. What a big tone. Washing away the injustice of the Dongfang family, then I want to see if you have the ability to do so. Gue Qingren's eyes focused, and the spiritual energy on his body rose once again. It frantically engulfed the scene and caused a rumbling sound. As for Gue Qingren, he turned into a black afterimage and attacked toward Zhu Tian with deathly aura. His speed was so fast that it made people exclaim in admiration. Unfortunately, he had encountered absolute heaven. One of the 7 deadly sins, bearing the mind. The right-hand man of the Supreme Honorable. Absolute heaven slowly raised his hand and extended his index finger. Shwa. His index finger revealed a cat's claw, which glowed silver under the moonlight. Ding! The cat's claw and Ci Ling clashed together, and a muffled sound rang out. The sound was especially ear-piercing, and this sound actually turned into a sharp blade that engulfed the surroundings. All of the trees were chopped down, and a rumbling sound could be heard. Clearly, this is a dagger that can't even be considered as a nail clipper. Zhu Tian looked at Gue Qingren, who was absent-minded, and said faintly. Gue Qingren blankly looked at the man in front of him. This is impossible. That attack from Ci Ling just now had the might of an ancient godly item. How is it possible for him to block it with his fingernail? This is impossible. Even the main character in the novel would not be so abnormal. Why is he able to block it with his fingernail? Ci Ling fell onto the ground powerlessly. Zhu Tian stretched out his palm, and Ci Ling slowly fell onto his palm. Gue Qingren collapsed onto the ground and asked absent-mindedly, Are you really able to wash away the injustice of the Dongfang family? I never lie. Zhu Tian said with his hands behind his back. His voice was even a bit lower, and he was imitating his honor again. Gue Qingren seemed to be at ease and said faintly, Come. End my life. All right. He swung the dagger in his hand and pierced through Gue Qingren's heart before returning to his hand. Gue Qingren blankly looked at his chest that was bleeding, and then looked at Zhu Tian. Why is this man not following the routine? Shouldn't he be curious? Shouldn't he ask first? Was he not surprised by her expression at all? Why did he kill himself without even thinking about it? Do you have anything else to say? Gue Qingren, fuck, I'm about to die, and you're only asking. Can't you be a little more attentive? Actually, I am also a member of the Dongfang family. Back then, I was the bodyguard beside the patriarch. Chapter 367. Seeing such a line of words, Gue Qingren's scalp went numb, his eyes widened, and he couldn't help but shout, CNN scum, I'm about to die and you still want to break the chapter. Even if I become a ghost, I won't let you go. Trash author, motherf asterisk cur. Along with the roar, Gue Qingren's face became even paler. The blood in his chest seemed to have found an exit and flowed out desperately. Gue Qingren edited a message and sent it out. Then, he crushed his phone and looked at the dark sky. In my next life, I want to be an author and take liberties with you. It was somewhere. A young man took out his phone, glanced at it calmly, and then deleted it. He took a deep breath and pushed open the door in front of him. The layout of the room was very simple. There were bookshelves around the wall, and a faint fragrance of paper filled the room. A man dressed in gorgeous clothes stood by the window, holding a book in his right hand. The soft moonlight shone on his body, making him look particularly mysterious. Mission failed. The man continued to read the book after listening. He stretched out his slender fingers and gently flipped through it. The subtle sound of flipping echoed in the room. It was obviously very ordinary, but in this environment, it made people's mood unstable, as if there was a big stone pressing on their chest, making them unable to breathe. The man didn't leave. He bowed and waited for the order. The man dressed in gorgeous clothes continued to read the book, and the sound of flipping could be heard from time to time in the room. No one knew how long had passed. Paw. The man closed the book and slowly turned around. He frowned slightly and asked, Wulio, when did you come? 2 hours ago. Wulio said lightly. The man nodded and asked in confusion, why didn't you call me? Wulio doesn't dare. Sigh, you guys are so timid. The man seemed very helpless. Wulio complained in his heart. We have to be timid in front of you, otherwise, how can we set off your bravery? The man sat in front of the desk, turned on the computer, logged into the QQ game, and was actually playing Link Link. What's the matter so late? The man asked with his chin propped up. Gue Qingren failed. I already said that your plan won't work. These 3 giants are not under our control, so don't interfere with their affairs. The man said lightly. Wulio lowered his head and said fearfully, Wulio is wrong. Alright, it's not bad to teach you a lesson. Our mission is to monitor those reincarnated and transmigrators. In recent years, the space has been unstable, and reincarnated and transmigrators have come to our territory in droves, increasing the difficulty of our work. Thinking of this, the man seemed to be a little impatient. *CK, the workload has increased, but the salary has not increased, and they even proposed all kinds of regulations. This kind of enterprise will go bankrupt sooner or later. Boss, recently, the people below have been complaining that the people who have been reborn and transmigrated are quite strong. Some unlucky ones who have not recovered their strength are easy for us to catch, but some lucky ones are very difficult to catch. Moreover, the compensation for work-related injuries is not high. Everyone's mood is a little unstable. I've already reported this matter to the headquarters, but they haven't replied yet, the man said while looking at the computer screen. Boss, then shouldn't we? Wu Lu probed. The man waved his hand. Let's pick some unlucky ones first. Keep an eye on the powerful ones and catch them all in one fell swoop. Yes. How is the situation in Longpan City? The man asked curiously. Wu Lu revealed out a confident smile, Boss, don't worry. Last time, those people accidentally angered the child, so I arranged for them to retreat overnight. Soon after, I arranged for some other people to retreat, and they were easily deceived. The man nodded his head and said, 5 years ago, this man transmigrated over with 2 people, yet he has been staying at home all this time. Furthermore, he even managed to get together with Voidless Realm's Empress. This dog shit luck sure is good. There is also Chinya. This kind of luck with women is truly amazing. Wu-Lu said gravely, boss, although this boss has been staying at home all this time, I feel that he is related to a lot of things. The man let out a breath, then said faintly, then, let's increase his danger level by 1. The man could be seen opening up Word and searching for A-rank personnel. Yi Hua's name was within it. Copy. Then, paste his name into the S rank. And within the S rank, there were a few familiar faces. For example, Xiao Yi, Qin Xuanzong, and the others. And within the folder, there was also a danger level of SS. There was even an even higher danger level of SSS. For trash like Wei Chang and Lai Gu, their danger level was E rank. Zhu Tian's danger level was actually F rank. Yi Zizi's danger level was a bit higher, reaching B rank. Long Outyan's danger level was even in the last place. His danger level was G rank. Tell our brothers to rest up for the time being. After the headquarters distribute the equipment and funds, we will capture them one by one. The man yawned and looked at the time. It is already 3 p.m., it is time to sleep. Yes. You can leave now. Right, there has been no news of Nangong Sini, who was arranged to stay by Xiao Yi's side for a long time. Go and check what is going on. Yes. Chen Xuanzong's side has to be arranged as well. Yes. This group of people belonged to the government, and this place was also a branch office. Time and space branch office. As long as someone reincarnated or transmigrated, they would send people to capture them. Most of the people that transmigrated were very weak, and their strength had not recovered to their peak. The work was still rather easy. However, there were some people who were lucky, such as Xiao Yi and Qin Xuanzong, who were considered to have reincarnated with strength. Therefore, these people only needed to be monitored, and when the time is right, they would be captured, crippled of their strength, and sent back. However, Yi Hua never expected that his danger level was only A rank, and it was only now that his danger level was raised to S rank. I am a homicidal maniac, can't you all be a bit more attentive? If I want to evaluate my danger level, I am definitely number 1. If you don't agree, then argue. No. If you don't agree, then fight. Zhu Tian sent the 2 women back to the staff dormitory, then went to report today's news. Yi Hua was originally sleeping, but after knowing that Zhu Tian came to report today's news, he immediately lost his sleepiness. Because Yi Hua wanted to teach them a lesson, then wait for them to come back with an apologetic gaze. Zhu Tian reported everything that happened tonight, and he even told Yi Hua some of his thoughts. Good. Very good. After Yi Hua heard what Zhu Tian said, he was extremely satisfied. Not only did I mess up the aristocratic family's election, I even caused the relationship between the aristocratic families to become even more tense. Zhu Tian, go ahead and do what you want. At most, they would only be guessing, but they do not have any evidence to prove that you are one of my people. Yi Hua was very excited. If this goes on, it won't be long before they surrender and return to Yi Hua. I still have my trump card, and the longevity fruit will definitely be able to make everyone go crazy. Although Yi Hua was furious, he didn't want to expose everything at once. After all, this was a rare opportunity to teach them a lesson. Chapter 368. Very good, I feel much more at ease now that you are in charge. Zhu Tian was terrified, your honor's words are too serious. Doing things for your honor is the way of the heavens, subordinate doesn't dare to be greedy. Yihua patted onto Zhu Tian's shoulder. All right, go back and properly comfort that woman. This subordinate understands. Yihua waved his hand, and Zhu Tian disappeared from the office. I can have a good sleep tonight. I'll see how they decide tomorrow. It was not so easy to be a good person. A good person had to go through 81 tribulations to become a Buddha. As for the bad guys, they only needed to lay down the butcher's knife and become a Buddha. Early morning in Voidless Realm, celestial mist lingered around. The environment was elegant, and it could be said to be a fairyland. Donghuang Baiji, who was in her bedroom, pursed her lips and turned her body. Her jade-like arms seemed like she wanted to hug someone, but in the end, she hugged nothing but air. Slowly opening her beautiful eyes, Yihua discovered that she was sleeping on the familiar imperial bed. Yihua let out a breath. I am already used to Yihua sleeping beside me, and now that he is suddenly not here, I am a bit not used to it. Your Majesty, the elders are already waiting in the main hall. A maid stood behind the curtain and said. Donghuang Baiji stood up, and the four maids hurriedly walked up to her and placed the emperor robe that was on the clothes rack onto Donghuang Baiji's body. After that, they prepared some clean water to wash up. As for the other two maids, they combed their hair into a bun, and finally, they put on the crown. The living empress appeared. Her beautiful face was filled with lofty majesty. Her beautiful eyes were calm, but there was a hint of sternness. The female attendants in the surroundings bowed, not daring to look directly at the empress's face, but they could also feel the empress's imposing aura. This was the correct way to activate Donghuang Baiji. Walking out of the sleeping quarters, a group of golden-robed and silver-armored figures followed behind. Swoosh, swoosh. 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 The sound resounded throughout Voidless Realm, and it was as if the sound was telling everyone in Voidless Realm that the Empress had woken up. At this moment, everyone who had woken up looked towards the highest mountain peak and kowtowed. Donghuang Baiji had already gotten used to this kind of lifestyle. She walked towards the palace with large strides, and on her way there, she enjoyed everyone kowtowing to her. He slowly walked up to the throne and stood on it without sitting down. Yuanda and the others, who were standing below, shouted in unison, "Greetings, Your Majesty. May the Empress live as long as the heavens. All of you, get up." Donghuang Baiji raised her jade-like arm, then sat down. "Thank you, Your Majesty." The dozen or so people stood up and lowered their heads slightly, not daring to look directly at the face of the Empress. "What's the matter so early in the morning?" Donghuang Baiji asked faintly. Yuanda and the others faltered. In the past, the Empress would never mention this. "Isn't it all because I was pampered by Yihua? For the past few days, I have basically been sleeping with Yihua until 10 in the morning. Therefore, she was very angry when she woke up." Xing Han cupped his hands and said, "Your Majesty, last night, 2 major events happened in the north. I hope Your Majesty can make a decision." Donghuang Baiji sighed lightly. Why did something happen again? Why didn't he have so many things to do in the past? He had only left home for 2 days. Could he still leave the house quietly? It must definitely be Yihua, that miser. What is it now? Donghuang Baiji asked faintly. He Xian said respectfully, "Last night, the Guan family's young master was assassinated in his house. Coincidentally, the patriarchs of the 5 great clans were having a meeting and discovered the murderer. They chased after the murderer, but unexpectedly, they saw 2 of the aristocratic clans having a bloody battle. Both sides suffered heavy losses, and the murderer looked at the patriarchs of the 4 great clans before he died. This made Guan Tong think that the murderer must have been arranged by one of the 4 great clans." Donghuang Baiji, Yuanda, say it again. Be more detailed. Donghuang Baiji said coldly. "What is going on? First it's the murderer, then it's the aristocratic clan's bloody battle, then it's the gays. Dong Huang Baiji felt that her head was going to explode. If Yi Hua was able to see Dong Huang Baiji's current state, he would definitely feel great. Weren't you very arrogant when you left? If you have the ability, then stay outside for your entire life. Yuanda told Dong Huang Baiji everything that happened. This caused Dong Huang Baiji to be very angry. This Tang family and Bai family are really not obedient at all. I already said that private fights are not allowed, and they actually disregarded my words. At this moment, Yu Quan, who was standing at the back, cupped his hands and said, "Your Majesty, regarding the aristocratic clan's bloody battle, it seems like it was Tang Wushuang who sent people to the Tang family's mourning hall to create trouble, and that was why Bai Cixin brought people to attack Tang family." After hearing that, Dong Huang Baiji said gravely, "Everyone, let's rest for an hour first. After an hour, we will continue discussing." Yes. In the past, Dong Huang Baiji was very decisive, but ever since she got a man, she became very indecisive. It seems like she would listen to everything that Yi Hua said, and she would do whatever Yi Hua said. Now that Yi Hua wasn't around anymore, everyone felt that it was strange. However, I can still look for Qingye to discuss with her. After all, such a thing has never happened before. Arriving at Dong Huang Li's courtyard, Qingye and Dong Huang Li woke up very early, and Dong Huang Li was currently wielding a sword that was as tall as a person. "Mommy!" Dong Huang Baiji shouted out, then pounced onto her mother's embrace and gave her mother a kiss. Dong Huang Baiji stroked onto her daughter's hair. "Li, continue to practice your sword, Mommy has something to discuss with Mommy Qing." "Sigh, Mommy, you should go and look for Daddy. Daddy is very smart, he is able to solve Mommy's problem in an instant." Dong Huang Li was constantly thinking about Daddy and Mommy. Dong Huang Baiji said petulantly, "All right, Li only cares about Daddy, and doesn't even love Mommy anymore. How is that possible? Li loves Mommy." Woo! After having a warm moment with her child, Dong Huang Baiji walked to the pavilion. With a smile on her face, Qingye poured a cup of water for the Empress. "What's wrong? Why do you look so gloomy this early in the morning?" Dong Huang Baiji drank the cup of bejeweled jade immortal dew, then sighed and said, "Something happened again last night." "Ah." Dong Huang Baiji told Qingye about what happened, and after listening to Dong Huang Baiji's explanation, Qingye's brows tightly wrinkled. "Qingye, do you think that Yi Hua is behind all of this?" Dong Huang Baiji asked curiously. Qingye shook her head, "I don't know either. Logically speaking, it is very normal for Tang and Bai family to fight with each other. Right now, the thing that is suspicious is that the culprit seems to have intentionally brought the 5 aristocratic families to the scene, allowing others to discover that Tang and Bai family were fighting with each other. Then, is such an action good or bad? Even if the aristocratic families don't know about it, the news would still spread today." Dong Huang Baiji voiced out the doubt that was in her heart. Qingye was also confused, then said gravely, "Right now, the most important thing is to calm down the situation, don't let the aristocratic family start fighting with each other. Tang and Bai family should be punished." Dong Huang Baiji thought so too. "I want to go and take a look at the situation, I might be able to find some clues." Dong Huang Baiji snorted. "Do you think that the culprit is Yi Hua?" Qingye asked with a smile. Dong Huang Baiji clenched her teeth. "If it is really Yi Hua, I will bite him to death." "Baiji, isn't this a bit too light? You are only going to bite him to death?" Qingye said teasingly, then took a sip of tea. "What do you say then?" Qingye said faintly, "Make Yi Hua kneel on the keyboard." Chapter 369. "I agree as well, Baiji, quickly go and look for him." Dong Huang Baiji went into a daze, then dragged Qingye along. "You come with me." Qingye smiled bitterly, "There's no need for that. No matter what, we are sisters who have gone through thick and thin together, and furthermore, we are going to join hands to deal with Yihua. But a lot of people know me. Qingye said. Yi Shao and Chu He had seen me that night. That's true. Qingye smiled and said, why don't I pretend to be your maid? Ah, is that okay? I am afraid that Yihua will teach me a lesson for using his beloved as a maid. Donghuang Baiji smiled mischievously. Qingye pinched Donghuang Baiji, you dare to tease me. The two women immediately started messing around. Donghuang Li, who was at the side, put down her sword and let out a breath. Lady is really childish. This is the first time we see the Empress acting like this. So it seems that she is actually not much different from us. When Voidless Realm spread out the news of the Empress going on an inspection tour, everyone went into an uproar. The last time the Empress went on an inspection tour was 100 years ago. That time, it was because of the matter of Dongfang family secretly hiding an ancient godly item, and the one who went on an inspection tour was Donghuang Baiji's father. After 100 years, the Empress of Voidless Realm went on an inspection tour again. The entire north immediately became filled with a solemn atmosphere, especially the family heads of Zijin City. They were all on tenterhooks, but they were also excited. Voidless Realm's Empress. My God! He had thought that he wouldn't be able to see her in his lifetime, but he never expected that he would get the chance now. At Zijin City's international airport, a Boeing 747 landed, and the passengers who were waiting for the plane stood up one after another to size up the plane. Because there were strange and lifelike divine beasts painted on the body of the plane. This is the first time I saw a plane with tattoos on it. This is too strange. However, the plane drove towards a private airport, and black vehicles drove into the airport one after another. Everyone was discussing, just what kind of big shot is this? Could it be that he is the president of some country? Right now, Qingye was disguised as Donghuang Baiji's maid, and her appearance was completely changed. No one was able to see through her disguise. Looking at the 20-plus phantom cars that were parked at the side, Qingye smiled and said, Baiji, isn't this a little too big? Qingye, this kind of formation isn't too big. After all, I am the Empress. How can I not have a formation? Donghuang Baiji smiled lightly. Donghuang Baiji was no longer wearing her imperial robe and had changed into a very professional CEO outfit. Qingye was just like a little secretary, and she was actually wearing black stockings. This was the temptation of black silk that Yihua yearned for even in his dreams. It was a pity that Yihua would not be able to see it. Qingye nodded her head. As a big shot, I must definitely have an imposing manner when I go out. Thinking back then, Yihua's imposing manner when he went out was definitely very impressive, and the title of Act Tough King reverberated like thunder. The first ones to walk down from the stairs were Voidless Realm's guards, and the guards who were dressed in black suits were standing guard at the side. After them were Yuanda and the others. Today, it could be said that the entire Voidless Realm had moved out. The scale was unprecedented. When Donghuang Baiji appeared at the entrance of the passenger plane, everyone felt a sense of pressure. This woman's aura is so powerful. Qingye was standing behind Donghuang Baiji, playing the role of a secretary. Qingye was even wearing a pair of glasses. If Yihua were to see Qingye's current appearance, he would definitely not be able to hold himself back. Sometimes, Lai Gu would say a lot of things. A woman must be treated, and only when she becomes obedient will she know how powerful you are. Yu Quan, go and inform the people from the aristocratic families. The people from the aristocratic families have to have a good talk with them today. Donghuang Baiji decided. I must definitely deal with this matter properly, if not, these problems will only appear one after another. Yu Quan bowed and said, Your Majesty, be at ease. In order to not delay Your Majesty's time, I have already arranged everything. Everyone is currently waiting for Your Majesty's appearance. Alright, let's set off then. Yes. The convoy set off towards Zijin International Hotel, which was Guantong's territory. While driving, the passers-by looked at the convoy curiously. There was no lack of nouveau riche in Zijin City, but this kind of formation was still very rare. Half an hour later, the convoy stopped at the entrance of Zijin International Hotel. The doorman immediately ran over to open the door, but he was stopped by Voidless Realm's Imperial Guard. How can you open the Empress's door? Yuan De hurriedly ran over and opened the door. Dongguang Baiji got off the car and sized up the Empress. Qingye got off the car as well. Dongguang Baiji didn't disguise her beauty. Her stunning appearance caused people to be dumbstruck, and the pressure that was being emitted from her body caused people to not dare to look straight at her. Let's go. No one came to welcome them, because today, they weren't here to have a heart-to-heart talk, they were here to judge a case. Yu Quan asked everyone to wait at the top floor. The group of people took the elevator and arrived at the top floor. The top floor was originally a banquet area, where some high-class banquets were held. But now, all of the luxurious facilities had been moved away, and there was only a throne placed on the rostrum, which gave off a solemn atmosphere. And below the throne stood around 100 people, and all of them were the family heads of Zijin City, as well as the people from the surrounding cities. Of course, there were also the 5 aristocratic families. Everyone didn't dare to whisper or discuss with each other, and their faces were all calm. Of course, there were also some who were excited. After all, they were going to be able to see the Empress soon. However, to Tang family and Bai family, today was the day where their family's fate would be decided. In actuality, they could already guess the result. Xiao Yi was very nervous as well. He had participated in the crime yesterday, and he didn't know what kind of punishment he would receive. If he killed the person, he would have to accept the punishment. If he didn't kill the person, he would have to accept the punishment as well. I am not willing to accept this. Tang Mushuang was still wearing a suit today, and a white ribbon was tied on his head. No matter what, I must get justice for my beloved wife today. Bai Zixin and Wang Debao were naturally present as well. The husband and wife didn't have much fear. Since we have already done it, then we should be prepared to accept the punishment. The 5 family heads stood at the front of the group. Guan Tong lost his beloved son yesterday, and his hair actually grew white. From this, it could be seen just how sad and indignant he was. Furthermore, he had also become skinny. When he looked at the other 4 family heads, his gaze was definitely not friendly. Furthermore, under anger, Guan Tong did the same thing as Bai Zixin. Chen Xuanzong was also present at the scene. Last night, he didn't know that something happened, and he only heard about it this morning. The reason why his mood was so good was because Xiao Yi was also present at the scene. When the Empress arrives, this Xiao Yi will definitely not be able to bear the consequences. Even the heavens are helping me. Within the crowd, there was a stranger that everyone didn't recognize. Perhaps, he isn't from Zijin City, and thus, no one thought too much about it. After all, the reason why they came here today was to see the Empress. However, this stranger was precisely Yi Hua. From Zhu Tian's ears, he heard that Baiji was coming to uphold justice. As a husband, he naturally had to come and see his wife's performance. Perhaps, he might even be able to swindle her a bit. Who asked you all to act cool? Hearing the sound of the elevator door, Yi Hua immediately looked towards the elevator door. Chapter 370. The sound of high heels suddenly rang out and echoed within the spacious banquet hall. Although it was just a simple sound, it deeply entered everyone's heart, as if that foot was stepping on everyone's head. Just this sound alone made everyone prostrate themselves in admiration. As expected of Voidless Realm's Empress, we can only kneel and lick her. A trace of a smile appeared on the corner of Yi Hua's mouth. So this Baiji also likes to act cool. I like women who act cool. After you all admit defeat, I will let you all live a life where you can't leave my bed. Dong Huang Baiji's figure gradually appeared in everyone's line of sight, and all of the family heads couldn't help but gasp. Is this a fairy? No, no, no. Saying that she is a fairy is blasphemy to the Empress. The Empress's appearance can no longer be described with words. The word beautiful is an insult to the Empress. At this moment, some of the family heads couldn't help but think of that woman from the auction. Her beauty is definitely comparable to the Empress. Dong Huang Baiji swept her cold gaze across everyone, and everyone immediately lowered their heads, not daring to look straight at her. The Empress has arrived. Everyone squatted down and shouted, "Eternal glory to the Empress." Yi Hua, who was within the crowd, had no choice but to squat down. If not, they would definitely look down on him. "Get up," Dong Huang Baiji said faintly. Yi Hua stood up and looked at the woman beside Dong Huang Baiji. Why does she look so familiar? A red light flashed past Yi Hua's eyes. So it's my Qinya. I told you to wear stockings, but you refused to wear them even if I beat you to death. I am not by your side, but you are still wearing stockings in front of so many people. I will remember this, and in the future, I will put stockings on your head. Why does it feel so weird to put stockings on your head? Dong Huang Baiji walked onto the rostrum and sat on the throne. All of the imperial guards stood guard around her, while Yuanda and the others stood 5 meters away from Dong Huang Baiji to prevent anyone from sneak attacking her. After all, if she is not in Voidless Realm, the Empress's life will be threatened. Xiao Yi felt that the Empress in front of him was very beautiful. Even when he was an immortal emperor, he had never seen such a beautiful woman before. Such a beauty is very rare in the world. If I am able to bring her into my room, it would truly be a wonderful thing. However, I only dare to think about it in my heart. Chen Xuanzong sighed. However, his heart could no longer contain any other women. Only Qinya existed in his heart. Right now, Tang Wushuang didn't have the mood to look at the Empress's appearance. He only wanted to seek justice for his beloved wife. Wang Debao couldn't help but compare the Empress with his beloved wife. Although the Empress is prettier than my wife has unlocked a lot of difficult moves, so, my wife is still the best. If Yi Hua were to find out about this, he would definitely feel disdain. I will allow them to completely unlock any technique, and then give me the most comfortable enjoyment. Actually, this was also the first time that the clan heads of the 5 great clans had seen the Empress in all her glory. They felt that she was much more beautiful than in the video. Back then, when Qinya and Dong Huang Baiji were fighting against Zhu Tian, someone took a video and uploaded it onto the cultivation forum, causing a huge sensation. It was just that Qinya was wearing a set of ancient godly armor that covered a wide area, so her appearance could not be seen clearly. I have come here today to settle the matter that has happened over the past few days. Dong Huang Baiji's opening speech was very simple and concise, and she did not ask about Dong Huang Baiji's well-being at all. This made Yi Hua acknowledge that instead of making any opening speech, it would be better to directly get to the point. Everyone present shouted out, "We respectfully obey my Empress's sacred words." Yi Hua suddenly had a bold idea. He immediately rushed forward, pressed the Empress under his body, and kissed her madly. I want to let these people know that the Empress is my woman. However, I will first endure it for now. I will let this group of salted fishes know about it in the future. Dong Huang Baiji waved her hand, and Yu Quan took a step forward and shouted out, "Bai Cixin. Wang Debao. Xiao Yi. Tang Wushuang." Along with Yu Quan's shout, 4 people slowly walked out from the crowd and stood in the middle of the crowd. Still not kneeling down, Yu Quan shouted out. Tang Wushuang kneeled down very decisively. The other 3 people also slowly kneeled down. Under the enormous machine that was Voidless Realm, they could only submit, nothing else. Donghuang Baiji said faintly, "I will give each of you a chance to explain yourselves." The 4 people below lowered their heads and seemed to be thinking about how to explain themselves. Everyone was looking at them, and they knew that today's matter would definitely not be settled so easily. Since the Empress asked you all to explain yourselves, you all just have to explain yourselves. Yu Quan shouted out coldly. The consequences of pretending to be mute were even more severe. Tang Wushuang was the first to speak, but when he spoke, everyone was shocked. This was clearly a woman. Thinking back then, Tang Wushuang was also a graceful and elegant young man, and could be said to be a young man with a purple gold jade face. I didn't expect that today, Tang Wushuang would be like this. This really makes people sigh endlessly. Your Majesty. Bai Cixin is cruel and merciless. She broke into the Tang residence in the middle of the night and killed our disciples. He didn't even let my beloved wife off, and Wang Debao and Xiao Yi, these 2 accomplices. I hope the Empress will uphold justice for me. Even if I, Tang Wushuang, am guilty, what did my wife do wrong? Bai Cixin snorted coldly. Your wife is not wrong. What did my little brother do wrong? When you killed my brother, you never thought that this day would come. Bai Cixin. Your brother committed suicide by jumping off a building. What does that have to do with me? My wife was killed by you. Many people can prove that. Right now, both of Tang Wushuang's eyes were completely red, and even his voice had become hoarse. It could be seen how big of a blow his beloved wife's death was to him. If you didn't insult my younger brother, would my younger brother commit suicide? You are twisting words and forcing logic. Enough. Donghuang Baiji shouted out coldly. Tang Wushuang and Bai Cixin lowered their heads. Have you all forgotten about my Voidless Realm's command? Or are you all treating my Voidless Realm's words as farts? Donghuang Baiji released out the power of her bloodline, instantly intimidating everyone. Even the family heads of the 5 influential families were trembling in fear, let alone the other small families. Yi Hua admired Baiji's methods very much. Sometimes, one should use force to suppress others. Baiji could be considered to have passed the test, and Qingye didn't give any evaluation. We don't dare. The 4 people said in unison. Donghuang Baiji snorted coldly and gradually released out her killing intent, don't dare. But you all dare. Your Majesty, it was Tang Wushuang who provoked us first. Bai Cixin hurriedly explained. Tang Wushuang said, Your Majesty, although I am in the wrong, he killed my brother-in-law and my beloved wife, just because he provoked us. He is just looking for an excuse. Transvestite Tang. Did you eat sh*tea this morning? Your mouth stinks. Wang Debao couldn't help but shout it out. Yu Quan shouted out gravely, Wang Debao. Pay attention to your words, don't disgust the Honorable Your Majesty. Yes, yes. Wang Debao panicked. Just now, I was just being straightforward, you're tuning into the Journey of the Soul YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.